The toll of the virus will go down dramatically this summer.
The models projected a sharp decline in cases by July 2021 and an even faster decline if more people get vaccinated sooner.
Director Rochelle Walensky, but she says if unvaccinated people don't follow public health guidelines like social distancing, hospitalizations and deaths could go up substantially. More than 56% of the nation's adults have gotten at least one dose of a vaccine, according to the CDC. Yesterday, President Biden set a goal of 70% of adults with at least one dose by July 4th. The Justice Department says it will appeal a federal judge's ruling that found the CDC exceeded its authority when it put a moratorium on evictions during the pandemic. A jury in Rome has sentenced two American friends to life in prison in the 2019 killing of an Italian police officer in a drug sting gone bad. The jury deliberated for more than 12 hours before delivering the verdicts for Finnegan Lee Elder and Gabriel Natali Yorth. Former President Trump isn't coming back to Facebook, at least not anytime soon. He released a statement after the Facebook Oversight Board released its decision.
He called Facebook, Twitter, and Google, quote, corrupt and an embarrassment, saying they must, quote, pay a political price. Facebook's Oversight Board voted to uphold the ban, agreeing with the social media platform that two of the former president's posts the day of the Capitol riot on January 6th, quote, severely violated the content standards of both Facebook and Instagram. However, the board also faulted Facebook for the way it made the decision and called the indefinite suspension unreasonable, giving Facebook 6 months to review the decision.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers on Wall Street. The Dow plus 97, hitting another record. The Nasdaq down 51. America is listening to Fox News.
Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview. All on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
A member of the Wisconsin National Guard is charged for protesting in January 6th at the U.S. Capitol.
The Department of Justice says Abram Markovsky, a private first class in the Wisconsin National Guard, is charged in connection with the January 6th protest that preceded rioting on Capitol Hill. According to court documents, Markovsky and friend Brandon Nelson, who's also charged, drove from Wisconsin to D.C. for the Stop the Steal rally, with Nelson saying the pair later entered the U.S. Capitol and that police officers were guiding people in, that the two left after about 40 minutes. Charges include being in a restricted building and disorderly conduct. Both men released and are in court next week. Jeff Monasso, Fox News.
Civil rights advocates have sued Talbot County, Maryland, seeking to have a Confederate monument that's now on the lawn of the county's courthouse removed. An NAACP branch leader and a lawyer say the statue of the Talbot boys, which commemorates more than 80 men who fought for the Confederacy during the Civil War, is unconstitutional and illegal. Payroll company ADP has a preview of job growth in April.
Payroll processing company ADP is reporting very strong job growth last month, 742,000 new positions created by private employers in April. There was hiring in construction, manufacturing, leisure and hospitality, trade, transportation, and utilities. Economists were predicting even stronger numbers in April, though ADP revised March growth higher. The ADP
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to may be even more nervous than you are. And the way things are now, your references have never been more important. Here are 3 tips. First, know that employers are checking. Every hire is under the microscope these days. Second, they won't just be checking references you provide. Figure that all of your ex-employers will get a call and be asked, would you hire him or her again? Third, assume you will be Googled. So before you apply, remove all those party animal photos from your Facebook page. Even if you're not in the job market, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The nation's quadriplegics immobilized on Washington in support of stem cell research, and a Penn State t-shirt is awkwardly looked away from. And now for the weekly feature your fragile, susceptible mind already has your lips salivating for. This is The Onion Week in Review. Sources reported today that 10-year-old Brandon Thomas, who is currently homesick at his friend Kevin's sleepover, needs to just tough it the fuck out.
I don't feel like playing Xbox right now.
The pathetic little bitch who claims he just doesn't feel like eating any birthday cake or joining in any activities with his friends, frankly needs to grow a pair because his parents only live 10 minutes away, for Christ's sake. Here's what the whiny pansy had to say for himself.
I wasn't crying. It's just allergies. I want to go home.
What a f***ing wuss. In other news, a voicemail from mom is deleted 3 words in, and a man with nice eyes is blown. All right, now off with you. I can't have you seeing me like this. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is She Talk Live on this Wednesday night edition of the show. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can join us in the conversation. Talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie, and Bonnie.
And I want to apologize for everyone for not having a live show yesterday. I had to take a day off. On top of that, I had a migraine, but I think it was probably just from overwork or overstress or, any of these combination of things that I'm having to deal with lately that I was not, exactly prepared to suddenly have to deal with. But we're back now, and it's good to be back.
We're glad you're back.
Thank you. I hated missing the show yesterday, but it was the weirdest thing, the first migraine in like a decade.
Wow, that's crazy because my head hurts so bad today. I took an ibuprofen before the show. It never hurts.
I used to take Imitrex for migraines, but then I just sort of stopped getting them.
Oh, so, you have been diagnosed with getting migraines?
Yes, for most of my life. But like I said, I haven't had one in a decade. I forgot how much they suck.
You have a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit much, but hey, I'm back, and hopefully that load is going to be decreasing soon. The workload of someone else has decreased. Evidently, they were being held as a slave.
Yes, that is correct. A black man enslaved by the South Carolina restaurant manager is owed $546,000, the court rules. This is on theguardian.com, written on the 3rd. A former restaurant manager serving 10 years in prison for effectively enslaving a man, forcing him to work more than 100 hours a week without pay, must double the restitution he pays for his former employee to more than $500,000, a court ruled.
How did he get away with this for any period of time?
Well, the man apparently had mental issues.
And so he's kind of taking advantage.
Okay.
Says Bobby Paul Edwards, a 56-year-old white man who ran a restaurant in Conway, South Carolina, has now been ordered to pay John Christopher Smith, a black man with intellectual disabilities, $546,000. A recent appellate court ruling declared that Smith should receive double the $273,000 he was initially awarded in the restitution after being enslaved and physically abused for 5 years.
Jesus Christ. I would argue that that's still not enough money.
No, absolutely not.
I know. That's what I was thinking too. But it's crazy. There are some stories where I'm like, the bad guy, I can see why they thought they were doing something right. But in this story, it's like, how could you even live with yourself and just have a slave? What? That's crazy.
Well, there are immoral people out there, and it certainly sounds like this guy was one of those.
I wonder if he was the restaurant owner as well, other than just the manager.
Oh, if he was just the manager, that's even weirder. Why do you...
It just says he was the manager.
Wow.
Edwards pleaded guilty to a forced labor charge in 2019 after failing to pay Smith any wages from 2009 to 2014 when he was working as a buffet cook and was sentenced to 10 years. When an employer fails to pay those amounts, regular and overtime pay, the employee suffers losses, which includes the loss of the use of that money during the period of delay. The Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit recently ruled. Smith first began working at J&J Cafeteria when he was 12 years old, the Post and Courier reported. Edwards eventually took over the business from relatives in 2009 and forced Smith to work 100 hours a week with no days off. Smith was kept from his family, called racial slurs, whipped with belts and kitchen pans, and burned with metal tongs that had been dipped in hot grease during what court documents called a reign of terror, The Washington Post reported.
Yeah.
Hot grease on, that's crazy.
That is a random. I mean, this guy, the manager who did this, what was the sentence he received?
10 years in prison.
Only 10 years. 10 years in prison for enslaving and torturing someone over this period of 5 years.
Sentenced to 10 years in prison.
And yet, 10 years is also the minimum that I face in my charges.
And you did not torture anyone or beat them with kitchen pans or belts or anything.
I did not. Talk about a broken justice system.
Yes,
10
absolutely.
years for torturing and enslaving someone.
Says most of the time I felt unsafe, like Bobby could kill me if he wanted to, Smith said, according to court records. I wanted to get out of that place so bad, but couldn't think about how I could without being hurt. A woman named Janine Keynes had a daughter-in-law who worked at the restaurant and had acknowledged of Edwards' treatment of Smith. Keynes reported the restaurant owner in 2014. For stealing his victim's freedom and wages, Mr. Edwards has earned every day of his sentence, Sherry Linden, the U.S. Attorney for the District of South Carolina, said when Edwards was convicted. The U.S. Attorney's Office will not tolerate forced or exploitative labor in South Carolina, and we are grateful to the Watch for Citizen and our partners in law enforcement who put a stop to this particularly cruel violence.
It's amazing to me that it lasted as long as it did. Did none of the other employees take issue with this?
That's what I'm thinking too. Like, I can maybe see one person being that evil and cruel, but like it had to be a whole group of people who knew what was going on.
They may not have known that he was stealing the guy's paychecks. That part may have been secret, but they certainly would have seen him torturing him and using racial slurs.
But I imagine that they probably did because people probably spoke to this man, and there had to be somebody who gave out paychecks and know that, hey, this guy's not getting one, and he's here all the time.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
And being a cook is just such a hard job. Like, I feel like it would be obvious he just doesn't want to be there, and it's not, like his choice and stuff.
And he's handicapped. So, I mean, he probably was afraid and didn't know where to go or who to turn to.
Oh, I certainly don't blame the guy for staying. I mean, he was scared.
Yeah.
Like most abused people are. And he was scared that, if he left, he was just going to get abused worse.
Mm-hmm. That's all the article has. There's nothing else to it.
Well, I'm not a big fan of prison. I don't think that punishing people is necessarily a way to handle a crime. However, this person did torture and enslave someone over a period of 5 years, and that shows that their moral compass is broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do with such people.
But now I wonder why, if it was done from 2009 to 2014, why we're just finding out about it now and he's just getting charged. Like, what has he been doing for the past, 7 years?
Also, he was a child, right? He was 12, to 19 this whole time. Like, this doesn't seem like $500,000 is enough money to give that back to him.
No. So how old is the victim?
You said he said
19?
He started when he was 12. So,
Okay.
And it didn't say exactly when he started the restaurant, but it started when the new owner took over the restaurant from the family.
Okay, but it said 2009 to 2014, right? So presumably he was 12 in 2009?
Well, I think that he worked, the way that it was written, I think he worked for the company prior to the new owner taking over.
Okay.
So maybe he was 13 or 14. I don't know. It didn't say exactly how old he was when it started.
It's horrifying. Well, I'm glad he's free now and no longer being tortured by his employer. That's absolutely horrific. It's shocking to think that
those things happen.
Yeah, and that no one did anything about it.
Yeah, like, did he not live with parents that had no idea what was going on? Like, maybe he was in, like, a foster care system and people really just didn't know what was going on with him at work?
Well, the foster care system sucks. So even if they did know, they probably wouldn't have
Yeah, we
cared.
talked about that last week, how great they were.
So that's horrifying. In other news, millennials, it seems, are getting sick.
Yes, that is correct. It says that 44% of older millennials already have a chronic health condition.
And I think it was last week that we touched on this. I don't remember, or maybe it was the week before, but we talked about how I think it was 50 to 60% of millennials have a, quote, mental health issue.
Yes.
But most of those are just like self-diagnosed, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's like,
anxiety,
if you go on Twitter and you look for a millennial, chances are you're going to just find a litany of mental health issues in their Twitter bios. It's like, why are you broadcasting this, first of all?
It's really strange. It's constant. Like, my mom in the 70s was diagnosed with, like, not bipolar, but a different one that sounds like bipolar. And she's like ashamed of it. Like, and people nowadays literally have it in their Twitter bios.
I don't think people should be ashamed of it, but I certainly don't believe most of these people are diagnosed. I think they just want to feel special.
Or maybe they just like the things that they're prescribed.
Could be that as well. Mm-hmm. But like, I know a lot of them will say they have PTSD, and when it gets down to it, then it's like, well, my parents used to have debates during dinner, and I have PTSD from them. Like, that's not PTSD.
Not at all.
But sure, you do your millennial thing over there. But evidently, these are real and diagnosed, and it's affecting 44% of millennials. We're going to talk more about that. Coming up, that and so much more, 603-283-6160. You can call in, weigh in on the subject, talk about whatever you want, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Free Talk Live.
The DEA doesn't dabble with users. They go after the big dogs.
Yeah, and I'm certain they have dabbled with users, and they would if they thought they could get something. They would if they thought they could get somewhere with it.
Maybe a user who's snorting 3 pounds a week, something where they could actually connect to a player.
Yeah.
But most users are just buying from other users. I mean, in the cocaine world, when you are a user, you've got to support your habit somehow.
Right.
And if you're not willing to go and knock over convenience stores and break into people's cars and hurt people to get the cash for your habit, then the only other choice for you, if you're not wealthy, is to sell cocaine to others.
Right.
And so most people will go and pick up whatever amount of coke they do, and then they'll sell to certain specific people who are their friends. Like he was saying, he was selling to his neighbor across the street. The DEA is not going to mess with that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. And I've got to tell you, I am looking forward to it more than ever, primarily because it's going to give me a day off. I'm talking about Fork Fest coming up June the 28th through July the 4th at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Right after the Porcupine Freedom Festival ends, Fork Fest will be starting. Actually, in my opinion, Fork Fest will be starting on June the 21st and will be happening concurrently with the Porcupine Freedom Festival until June the 28th through July the 4th, at which point it will be just Fork Fest. It's a great time. Check out the website for more information, forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June the 28th through July the 4th. There's no better place to be on Independence Day than around other freedom-loving people in the Shire. So if you're bored this summer, if you're looking for something to do, consider Fork Fest. It's a great time. We've got Amazing Audits calling. Amazing Audits, you're on Free Talk Live. Hold on, I got you muted.
And I just wanted to reach out and let people know some of the difficulties and challenges and ins and outs of First Amendment auditing while we're out in the field.
Okay. Now, these are things I've seen, but I've never done one.
Right, and I want to get some more information out there about it, because if someone hasn't done it, maybe they have an interest in possibly doing it, and what that could mean for them if they tried to do that. So,
now, can you tell me exactly what a First Amendment audit is?
Sure. If you go on public property and you are using freedom of the press with your video camera or maybe your cell phone, and you could be doing a cop watch, possibly. People see traffic stops all the time. You could just stop and videotape safely, and you could follow the instructions from the officers and then capture the whole stop, and it keeps the people safe. That's one example of a First Amendment audit.
Okay.
Another example might be if I go into a public building, like the police department, and I make a video where I'm filing a complaint or picking up public records or just otherwise exercising my right to press inside that public building.
Okay.
And so what was the event that had you get arrested?
So I was making a video of what it would be like if somebody wanted to go pick up some of their property from the police evidence vault.
Well,
and,
it's never
easy
to retrieve your property from the police.
Well, I was there, and I had a sign with me that they didn't like the verbiage on the sign, and there was a couple of detectives there that weren't happy about me videotaping and everything. So,
can you say what the sign said on air?
No, not the first word. I could tell you the second word was cops.
Okay. Well, we might agree with that.
And it's free speech. Like, you shouldn't be getting arrested for something like that. That's ridiculous.
Well, they claimed that I trespassed. I opened a side door to the building where they were, and I was trying to get their names and badge numbers for the complaint I was going to file. And that's when they jumped on me at that time and said I was trespassing, and they threw my phone and stuff.
Well, they threw your phone.
Yeah, they've thrown my phone a couple of times, actually. One time I shined a flashlight at a police officer at nighttime. He wasn't doing his traffic stop or anything, but I shined a light in his face. Well, he came over and he grabbed me right up. He threw my phone like halfway across the lot. He was kind of salty.
Well, maybe you could sue over that, because they can't grab your camera I know that they can't touch your camera. That might just be New Hampshire, but...
Yeah,
Are you
there's
in
a
New
lot
Hampshire?
No, I'm actually in Las Vegas currently. I'll be traveling, and I'll be out and doing some videos in New Hampshire here in the next 4 weeks.
Will you be joining us at Fork Fest?
It sounds like a lot of fun. I'd sure like to do that.
Yeah, we hope you make it.
Yeah, I hope I do too. Thank you for the invite.
I think you'll find here in New Hampshire that a lot of the police departments and public buildings are already used to First Amendment auditing. That's not universally true. I know there was an issue in, I think, Portsmouth a few weeks ago where the city managers or whoever wanted JOA, I think, or breaking the law, I don't remember who exactly it was, brought up on charges for the horrific crime of videotaping.
Recording.
Yeah, they're really cracking down on everybody. I'm pretty sure they have a working plan on how they're going to try to deal with all these auditors in a negative way.
I do too. Well, I'm glad that you got my letter for one thing. You made me want to restart Mail for Jail because I was like, oh man, more people need to be reaching out to our friends that are in jail for no reason.
Yeah, and thank you so much for the audits. Now, the Mail for Jail thing, has anyone actually restarted that?
No, but I want to. I mean, like, I feel like I could do it. I have a lot of downtime, but I haven't really talked to anybody. I got his letter like the day he got out, so I never got to write him back.
603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. I've watched a lot of these First Amendment audits or just audits of the police in general. They're really entertaining most of the time because cops don't like to be recorded, but you have every right to record them.
I did not know that is what they were called when you go cop blocking or record, government officials, that it was called a First Amendment audit.
Yeah, you're auditing whether or not they will respect the First Amendment and your right to, be a member of the press.
Okay. That's good to know. So now when when Mikey goes out and does it, I'll be like, okay, exercise your First Amendment. You got it, buddy.
Yeah. So we're talking about millennials here and the chronic health issues that they're facing now that they're getting older.
Yes.
Evidently, millennials aren't especially healthy. It may or may not have something to do with all the crap that got injected into us as children and then all of the crap that we ate growing up.
But now they're injecting more into the children. So if it has something to do with that, that should be a red flag.
I would definitely agree.
Says as millennials begin to turn 40 in 2021, this is a CNBC.
Jesus Christ,
article.
There are millennials turning 40? I guess there are.
Yeah, right? I turned 39.
Wow.
Make It has launched Middle Age Millennials, a series exploring how the oldest members of this generation have grown into adulthood amid the backup of the Great Recession and the COVID-19 pandemic, student loans, stagnant wages, and rising cost of living.
I mean, plus 9/11, probably the most impactful moment of any millennial's life.
Oh, absolutely. We'll never forget that.
And no mention of it here.
Nope.
But no, yeah, that was the primary backdrop upon which we grew up. I mean, we were there prior to the Patriot Act, and then we've been living in this post-Patriot.
We have seen everything they have done and every change they have tried to make, even with like the pandemic. We have had to go along with it and try to pick our battles.
Yep.
Says every morning, Kristen Bennett starts her day by swallowing 14 different supplements and vitamins designed to help her with the worst symptoms of her disease at bay. Bennett has remitting multiple sclerosis, a central nervous system disease she's been dealing with for about 20 years. After being diagnosed in 2001, she turned 40 last month. Health conditions like Bennett's can take a toll both financially and emotionally. And unfortunately, as the oldest millennials start to hit 40, many are finding themselves coping with chronic health conditions, more so than previous generations.
That was going to be my next question. Isn't this sort of something that just happens when people get older?
No. Nope, this is just for the millennials.
Well, I hope to stay healthy as long as possible.
Yes.
I'm not a doctor, but I'm not a big fan of multivitamins and those kinds of things. I can't imagine they're doing anything to help this person. What are your thoughts? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Car
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and talk about anything you want. Can you get through the door? Yeah. So, one thing that we have seen in the news, but that we haven't mentioned at all, was the split up, the upcoming divorce between Bill and Melinda Gates. Coming out of nowhere, as far as I can tell, suddenly Bill and Melinda are getting divorced. And we're going to talk about that later. It's just strange to me that it would even happen. It suggests to me that I understand why so many people are going to, I don't know how to phrase this. I get why the conspiracy theorists out there are focused on this, and they think it suggests something dark and insidious, like, oh, maybe she's about to tell all or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case. I think that maybe they're divorcing because that he's going to get in trouble.
You think he's going to get in trouble?
I don't know. Isn't he like a big supporter of like all the vaccines and
very much
everything like that? So I think that maybe there's some dirt that's coming, and maybe they're divorcing so they can split
To
assets.
protect her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well, I mean, in a divorce, doesn't the wife gets like half of everything?
Usually.
Yeah, especially if they've been together 27 years, which is what it said. So if that's the case, and let's say they have $50 billion, she's going to get 25. So if they come and they say, Bill, you're in trouble, we're going to take your 25 billion. She says, oh, I still have 25 billion. We're okay.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's as good an argument as any.
That wasn't quite my theory. Someone else said that to me and made a lot of sense. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
That really does make a lot of sense. I was thinking there would be stuff coming out with like drama, and I haven't seen any drama, but there's been really good memes.
I wouldn't expect drama from them. I mean, they're billionaires. They have better things to do than to be dramatic on the internet. But before we get into that, we're talking about millennials here and the chronic health issues that older millennials are beginning to suffer from. This one person, I don't remember what the disease was now.
It was a multiple sclerosis, a central nervous system disease.
Coping with it with multivitamins, strangely enough.
Yeah, 14.
And presumably some sort of actually prescribed thing for this. I don't know anything about multiple sclerosis, though.
Me either. But it says about 44% of older millennials born between 81 and 1988 report having been diagnosed with at least one chronic health condition, according to a recent survey. The Harris poll on behalf of CNBC make it among over 4,000 U.S. adults, about 830 of whom were between the ages of 33 to 40. There's no question that some emerging evidence shows many millennials are unhealthier than predicted, says Dr. George Benjamin, Executive Director of the American Public Health Association. Hypertension, diabetes, and obesity drives a lot of that. Benjamin says, adding that the obesity epidemic may be one of the root causes of the rise in rates of hypertension, diabetes, and even certain types of cancer.
Okay, so millennials are fat and unhealthy.
Well, we knew that already.
Sure.
I mean, the food that they feed us, the food that they feed most people, I don't eat it, is horrible for us. And then there's so many fast food restaurants. And if you go to a restaurant and you get a dinner, your dinner is going to have every bit of 2,000 to 4,000 calories in one plate of food in a restaurant. There's, I think it's Red Lobster, but they take their steaks and they dip their steaks in a vat of butter before they put it on the plate so that it's shiny and hot before they bring it out to you. You can request them not do that if you know that it's happening.
Yeah, but you have to know that it's happening.
Exactly. And how many, we're just like, oh, wow, this steak is so good. What's so good about it?
When I think about what my parents fed us as kids and what my grandparents fed them as kids, like, it's so bad. Like, my grandma, she just eats, do you guys know what rotel is?
Yeah, I do.
She just, like, gets ground beef and puts it in rotel, and that's, like, dinner sometimes.
We used to do Spam a lot. You know what Spam is? Like the canned meat and, like, salmon patties.
Yeah.
We used to do those.
See, I was fortunate in that regard in that it was actually my grandmother who raised me, and she did a lot of home cooking.
Oh, she was a good cook then.
Yeah. I mean, once I got older and I was a teenager and I lived with my dad, that's when things really went downhill as far as my diet goes, because he worked at Burger King and he was always broke. So what I ate for dinner every single night was leftover Burger King that he brought home.
Michael said that his mom was a manager of Burger King for a long time, and she would bring cases of the McRibs home. And so he would just take a McRib out of the fridge and be like, I'm just going to have a McRib when he was younger and growing up. But she was a fast food restaurant for a lot of years.
So eating healthy is certainly a good way to go if one wants to actually be healthy. I'm proud to say that I do eat healthy now, or at least relatively healthy.
Yes, I do
could probably
too.
be healthier, but...
Well, we all could.
That's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, but as long as you're conscious about what you're putting in your body, that's the important part. Because if you know that, hey, I have an apple and I have a Swiss cake roll. I want that Swiss cake roll. I'm going to put it in my face. But I'm going to fight myself and I'm going to say, no, I'm going to have this apple. And I might add some peanut butter that has a little bit of fat to it for that sweetness. But I really want that Swiss cake roll. So I might eat the apple and the peanut butter. And if it's still there, I might eat it.
Well, as long as you have the apple then.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It cuts a balance. It's balance.
All things in moderation.
The article continues. It says, Benjamin also says that studies show millennials are far less likely to be smokers, making diseases related to smoking less common. Among the older millennials surveyed by CNBC make it migraine, headaches, major depression, and asthma are the 3 most common ailments. Type 2 diabetes and hypertension round out the top 5. Now, Aria, weren't you saying that you have migraines or that you did?
I did.
Yeah.
But yesterday's was the first in close to a decade. So yeah. I don't think I really suffer from migraines anymore. I think I was just stressed and overworked. And
so maybe that's why you had one yesterday.
Yeah. That's what I'm leaning toward.
Yeah. The prevalence of these diseases not only affects millennials' health and lifespan, but also their bank accounts. Study shows those with at least one chronic condition spend twice as much out-of-pocket healthcare expenses than those without any medical issues.
Shocking. People with medical issues spend more money on healthcare than people without medical issues.
But, they could take that money and spend it on the food that they're putting in their bodies, because good food is not cheap.
No, it's not.
It costs quite a bit more than if you go to the store and you buy the 99-cent bag of chips.
Me and my coworker's girlfriend, who's a nurse, have been talking about this so much recently that, so many people our age, millennials, I guess, just completely are brainwashed into thinking, nothing is, our food is not medicine, but food is definitely medicine.
Absolutely.
People think, the only way you can cure anything is through pharmaceuticals. That's just conspiracy theory. But food is made, medicine is originally made from plants and food and stuff like that. Food is definitely medicine, and you can get everything your body needs from your food. You don't need supplements.
My dad was diagnosed with diabetes, a pre-diabetic, probably about 1.5 years ago. And he kept eating like he wasn't supposed to. He was told, hey, you have to do this. And he didn't. And so he was put in the hospital not too long ago because his body was just shutting down because he wasn't producing any insulin. And he was still eating the garbage. And so he went to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist put him on a diet. And it was great that she gave him a copy of the diet, and he read it to me. And I said, okay, Dad, are you going to stick with it? And he said, yes, I am. So he started it. But the diet that she gave him was the same exact thing minus the protein shakes that I had given him. And I said, this is what you need to eat, and you need to eat a lot of it. And he was like, I'm not going to do that, because
why?
it's not food that I like. I'm like, okay, he likes fried bologna sandwiches and hot dogs with chili mayonnaise and slaw and onions. That's not going to be healthy for you. But
I knew a guy who was like that and got diabetes as a result. This person would eat Burger King breakfast every single day.
And they don't understand what's wrong.
Yeah, and he's like, I don't understand why you can't just give me a pill and make me better. Dude, because you're eating Burger King sausage and biscuits every day.
Poison.
Yeah, you're going to get diabetes and die. And in fact, he did.
Yeah, see, exactly. Which is pretty scary.
And he knew, right? But he just didn't care. He felt like it was the doctor's job to just magically make it go away, to just give him a pill.
Yeah, well, that's my dad. He weighed 180 pounds when he was pre-diabetic. And when he went into the hospital, he was 130. He's 5'10". He was 130 pounds. And they were like, we don't know how your body is even functioning. His sugar was over 600. And I guess it's supposed to be 140 or below. And so, but it was all food. It was all food. He was like, but these say sugar-free. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It might not have sugar in it, but there's 50 different names for sugar.
It's advertising.
Mm-hmm, that's it.
It's propaganda.
Must be good for you because it says sugar-free. All right. The article.
Well, isn't most stuff that's sugar-free, doesn't that contain aspartame, which
does.
is like an actual literal poison?
Yep. Some other kind of additive.
It's important for people to remember that. Aspartame in particular was ruled by the FDA to be a poison until the guy who held the patent for aspartame became the head of the Food and Drug Administration, at which point they decided, oh, no, you know what? That thing we said was a poison, that's fine. Go ahead and have it.
Of course.
OMG.
Yeah. Sign the check.
603, and that's a true story, 603-283-6160. More coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you AMP Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about anything you want, 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And earlier we talked about a man who was sentenced to 10 years in prison for enslaving and torturing someone over a period of 5 years. He's not the only one who's looking at 10 years in prison if worse comes to worst. I'm talking about the federal case against myself and some other hosts of Free Talk Live. You can find out more about it at thecrypto6.com, and you can donate to the Legal Defense Fund if you want, because this is a big case. It's going to last. We don't even expect the trial to start until the spring of next year, because it's monumental and it's very, very expensive. So check it out, thecrypto6.com or freethecrypto6.com, whichever one you prefer. And thank you so much for everyone who has helped out and who has showed their support and all of that stuff. The single best thing that I've experienced in regard to all of this was the level of support. Like, as soon as I was released from jail, I felt isolated. I immediately went to my coworkers at work because they were the only ones who, hey, I know they're physically here and I can go and talk to them.
Yep.
But the next night, the Liberty community effectively showed up at my house, and I was like, okay, yeah, I got this. Because it's easy to feel demoralized when, the federal government raids you and then hands you an indictment and says, oh, by the way, you're being charged with these things, and you could face up to 10 years in prison. That's kind of demoralizing.
I can't imagine.
But having people in your corner, showing their support, it's tremendously helpful. So I hope that there are links at thecrypto6.com for people to send letters to the other defendants, some of whom are still being detained, because showing your support to them is probably one of the most important things you can do at the moment.
Now, if you're sending letters into them, are there things that they can and cannot receive, or that you should and should not put into those letters?
I do not know.
Yeah, like tape and colored pencils and stuff like that. Whenever I wrote a letter to Amazing Audits, he wrote me back, and I got it like the day he got released, so I didn't get to write him back. But he said, like, I was jumping up and down for joy for 10 minutes when I got your letter, because yours is the only one I got, and that, like, broke my heart. I was like, we need to, like, get a letter thing going for people who were in jail for no reason, and the guards, like, were treating him badly and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, of course they are, because he's, like, he's making them answer the questions, answer the hard things. Like, why are you doing that wrong? What are you doing? Why would you act like that? Why would you treat a human being the way that you're treating them?
Yep.
Important questions, right? And all too often, the cops don't have the answer for them.
No, they're doing their job.
Yeah, you look at people like George Floyd being murdered on the streets, and you have to ask yourself, how are these cops okay with doing what they're doing? How can you be okay with kneeling on someone's neck
and not
for
thinking?
9 minutes?
And you have to know in your head that this is not okay. But you're there in the moment, and your adrenaline's pumping, and you're like, I'm not getting up from this guy because this is what I'm doing. This is my job.
Feeling justified. And it's in all the movies. I was talking about this, like, I think last week. Like, in every movie, there's a bad guy, and then something bad happens to him, and you get this good feeling like, oh, thank God the bad guy got hurt. And, like, you get this justified feeling. I think it's, like, programming to make people act like that about whoever the government decides is the bad guy, like people without masks.
But a lot of people think that, normal people, like citizens, are the bad guys, but they're not. They're not the ones that are going around attacking people and bothering people and taking innocent people to jail or killing innocent people.
Absolutely not. I mean, that's the domain of the cops.
Right, exactly. The legalized gang.
For most of my adult life, I've been far more concerned about what cops may or may not do to me than I am what my neighbors may or may not do to me.
I can tell you that my heart starts pounding at the moment that I'm like, oh crap, that's a cop behind me.
Yep.
And I don't have anything in the car. There's nothing going on. I'm completely legal, but I'm like, I'm going to get pulled over. It's going to happen.
Because they're predators.
That's it. Yep. And I'm like, if they run my name and if they run my tag and they hear my name, they're going to be like, oh, we're pulling her over. It's going to happen.
See, I have sort of a veil of safety, I think, here, where they just don't want to pull me over.
They're like, oh, it's her.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case, and it may not be now for sure, but I mean, there was a period of time, especially at the height of the sheriff campaign, where I was doing everything possible to skirt the law and still be legal, but just to get them to pull me over, like my exterior LEDs and stuff like that. So, yes, it's legal, but cops really don't like it, and they pull people over for it all the time. They never once pulled me over for it.
They did not want to deal with you.
No.
They're like, nope. Damo said one time that it was better to be avoided by the cops than to fly under the radar. And I was like, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I don't want to do either one.
I tend to agree with that assessment. I think it's better if they don't want to deal with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Then they leave you alone, right?
The gym that I work for, the owner came to me when I moved, and she was like, hey, you moved? And I was like, yeah, I sold my house, whatever. And she said, well, did you know that all of the police officers in your area know where you moved to? And I was like, no, why is that? She said, well, they're certain you're the founder of Cop Block. I started laughing. I was like, really? I was like, no way. But they all knew where I lived. And they go to the gym, and so they talk to her, and they're like, oh, you have her working for you.
That's interesting.
Yep.
So yeah, more to the point about that, when I first got my Eclipse, I was driving it. I wanted to drive it because it was my new Eclipse.
Of course.
But it wasn't registered, so I just took the plates off of my Ford and threw them on my Eclipse.
No way.
Yeah, I did. I forgot where I was trying to get to. I forgot how to get there. So I pulled into this random parking lot, pulled it up on my GPS, and sure enough, there's a cop sitting in that parking lot. He ran the plate, found out that, it was for a totally different vehicle, followed me out, pulled me over, and was like, look, all I want you to do is tell me that you're test driving the vehicle and you're going to buy it tomorrow. I was like, I'm test driving the vehicle.
Yes, I am.
And I'm going to buy it tomorrow. He's like, okay, thank you. Go where you're going, pick up your friend, and then go home. Have a good night.
That was really nice of him. He was human.
He was human. Another friend of mine actually had his car break down at an intersection here near Swansea. And rather than, forcefully having his vehicle towed or anything like that, the sheriff's deputy just helped him push it out of the street and into a parking lot and then gave him a ride to work. So it's not that all cops are bad by any means, but
when they get in a group.
Well, those cops could still also be bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the mob mentality takes over.
Exactly. Oh, I'm here with my friends. Beat chest.
Those cops could have literally just got done doing something else really bad and went over and did another thing good. It doesn't make them not bad. Makes them not bad in that moment or as bad as they could have been. They still wasted your time for a piece of paper that is a magical issued piece of paper from a mafia.
I don't disagree that they still wasted my time, but they were human about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it in a way that didn't really cause me any harm.
And he directed you the right words that maybe you could say.
Yes.
That would help you not get a ticket or not have a fine or not have to deal with it.
Yeah, not get ticketed for misuse of plates.
Yep, exactly.
Which I didn't even think was a thing.
Well,
So-
I mean, I would imagine that if you're taking a plate off another vehicle, that they're going to be like, "Oh no, you can't do that. That's not okay."
Well, I owned both vehicles. To me,
and you paid
made
for the
perfect
plates.
sense. Yeah,
they were your plates. So why can't you just use them on any vehicle you choose?
that was my reasoning.
I love it.
But
Because they're swindlers.
But the government did not agree.
No, they want their money for each and every car.
Yeah. Which is fine. I mean, it did get registered. I wasn't particularly happy about it, but whatever. It's easier to do that than it is to drive around with the wrong plates and risk getting pulled over. But yeah, even then, they just tend to not want to deal with me. Strangely, though, this doesn't keep them from stalking me. And this is no longer true as of March 16th, the day that we were raided. But previously, every night when I would get off from work, there would be a cop behind me, following me to my house and then stopping in at the gas station across the street and going back toward Keene.
You know, at least you were protected, Aria.
That was exactly what I said. I was like, man, this is great. I have an armed escort protecting me
Yeah, exactly.
on my way home every night. If I wreck or something, there's going to be a first responder right there.
They're
on
like,
the
wait a minute,
scene."
I saw it. I'm a witness.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know what they were doing or why they were following me. Given that it stopped on, March the 16th, I have a pretty good idea of what they were probably doing. But either way, they never pulled me over, and they still haven't. Of course, now they don't have a reason to, and now I really don't want to get pulled over.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Anyway, before we got into this discussion, we were talking about millennials and how millennials are getting sick.
By
Chronic.
being fat.
Yes, that does seem to be one of the running threads here.
Says those under 65 with circulatory system diseases, such as high blood pressure and heart conditions, spend more than $1,500 a year out-of-pocket costs, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. The average health insurance plan participant without a chronic condition pays just $778 a year out of pocket. Over the course of a lifetime, those costs can add up, especially if a patient is diagnosed at a younger age. Beyond out-of-pocket spending, millennials with a chronic health condition also could see their annual income reduced by as much as $4,500 per person due to medical expenses.
Well, is this because they're working fewer hours? Because that's a strange way to word it.
It does say that because they're reduced hours or their job loss because of their health conditions.
Okay, yeah, that's gotta suck.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? I tend to think that eating better and not being fat, not being overweight would be the best course of action for most people. But maybe you disagree. This is Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com.
That's Bitcoin.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Defending the spending. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden again pushing back against Republicans who have expressed concerns over his 2 economic aid plans, which total about $4 trillion.
The programs that relate to people are programs that are the things that also generate economic growth. And I view them as, for example, tax cuts for middle class, upper middle class, and working class people.
He says top income earners and corporations will see an increase in taxes to pay for the plan, saying it would not impact their standard of living. The Biden administration says it supports waiving intellectual property protections for COVID-19 vaccines. U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai says it would help to end the pandemic, but the International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers and Associations called the move the wrong answer to a complex problem. The CDC has issued its framework for getting the cruise industry back up and running, saying operations now have what they need to begin simulated trips before they start bringing passengers back for trips from U.S. ports. Last week, the CDC said it was committed to allowing cruises to resume by midsummer. Life in prison for 2 Americans who were on trial in Italy for the killing of a police officer in 2019. The jury deliberated for more than 12 hours before handing down the country's stiffest sentence to 21-year-old Finnegan Lee Elder and 20-year-old Gabriel Natali Yorth in the death of Mario Circello Rega.
Elder stabbed the officer, who was unarmed and in plainclothes, multiple times. Both Americans claim they did not know Circello Rega was police. It all happened after the 2 then-teens on vacation in Italy tried to buy cocaine one night and got ripped off by the dealer, who eventually...
Fox's Amy Kellogg. America is listening to Fox News.
Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview. All on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
The federal government's main source for small business funding during the pandemic has dried up.
The Paycheck Protection Program was scheduled to be closed at the end of the month, but ran out of money today. According to the Small Business Administration's website, the PPP in all processed more than 10 million applications, paying out in excess of $780 billion. The New York Times reports the suddenly empty coffers came as a surprise to many lenders. New applications are not being taken. Some money is still available for businesses in underserved areas. About $8 billion will be processed until it runs out. The SBA has started new grant programs that have not paid out funds yet. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Israel's opposition leader is tapped to assemble a new government.
Israel's president has asked opposition leader Yair Lapid to form a new government, a step that could lead to the end of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's time in office. Netanyahu had been given until this morning to pull an administration together following an inconclusive general election, but that deadline came and went. Lapid, who leads a centrist party, now has 4 weeks to reach a deal with potential partners. In London, Simon Owen, Fox News.
Peloton is recalling about 125,000 treadmills less than a month after denying they were dangerous and after saying they would not issue a recall. A child was pulled under one and died in April, and more than 20 other children.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Tensions in Washington, D.C. reached a new high yesterday as several dozen members of Congress took a class of visiting school children hostage, barricaded themselves inside the Capitol Rotunda, and demanded $12 trillion in cash. The children were rounded up at gunpoint, whereupon the House Speaker informed negotiators that one child would die every hour unless their demands were met. Here now, a brief video one of the students was able to send out from inside the Capitol.
Nobody move, you're all gonna die! This kid's got a phone.
Historians across the country politely reminded Americans this week to quickly check and see what has happened in the past before making any big decisions.
Just take any book with history in it and then quickly skim through it to see what decisions in the past turned out to be bad. And then once you've pinpointed them, simply don't make those same decisions again. Because if a bad thing happened again, you see, that would be very bad indeed, wouldn't it?
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and join us, talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And I realize people are probably sitting there scoffing and shaking their heads about me talking about health issues during a break where I went out and smoked a cigarette.
But it said millennials don't really smoke. It's not a lot of chronic illness due to smoking.
Well, I certainly am a millennial, and I do certainly smoke. I smoke Newports. I'm sort of aware of some sort of menthol ban that's being proposed or talked about something,
yeah.
But I'm not paying much attention to it because I don't expect such a thing to actually happen.
Me either. It did get passed, but it's not supposed to go into effect for like 2 years, so it just sounds to me like something that was some news story to be talked about and make it look like Joe Biden cares about people's health, and then in a few years it'll be like, oh, that was repealed.
So what does it matter if it's menthol? Because it's still a cigarette.
It's like somehow more unhealthy, apparently.
I've heard the opposite, but I don't really care if it's more. I have no need for a healthy cigarette or a particularly unhealthy cigarette. I mean, I'm addicted to them in the same way that a lot of these millennials are addicted to junk food. I think one of the reasons that I stay so slim, aside from the fact that I, smoke, which nicotine is an appetite suppressor.
I did not know that either.
It is.
Oh.
No, don't start.
I'm not.
That I don't, eat junk food. If I eat, it's a meal, or I just don't eat. I wait until I'm hungry enough for a meal, and then I eat a meal.
That's the problem. A lot of people eat out of boredom.
They do. Mm-hmm. I'm certainly not one of those. I don't remember the last time I was bored. And I'm being serious.
I know you are.
It's not because I'm so busy now or anything like that. I mean, I wasn't bored 2 years ago. There's always something I could be doing to entertain myself.
That's good. So you're very productive.
I try to be.
A lot of people are not. A lot of people would prefer to sit in front of their boxes or in front of their game consoles and sit there forever, and then they lose track of time.
Yeah, well, me and Ian just read a book that made a pretty good case that being bored is like a really important part of life that humans spend like every day avoiding because it's an unpleasant emotion to be bored. but being bored is a pretty good thing to happen to you sometimes because it'll make you sit there and think about your life. But the thing is with me, I can be doing something, be bored, and think about my life. So,
multitasking.
Even if I'm just sitting at home listening to music, I'm not bored.
Well, that's because you're appreciating what you're doing.
I suppose that's the case.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't.
That's
so
unfortunate.
Uh-huh.
I mean, people should recognize, they're going to die, and they should take time out of their day to enjoy things.
I told my 3-year-old that we are all dying. We are all just one day closer to death. And she was like, I'm going to die. I was like, yep, everybody's dying, and we're all going to die one day. And of course, she had this complete meltdown. I'm like, nope, not today. Hopefully not today, but it's going to happen. But, I want her to be prepared.
Sure.
That's good, honestly, because when I was 19 or 20, I got this, for 2 years maybe, I just had this horrible dread anytime I thought about the fact that I was going to die, because it was it finally hit me at 19.
Yeah, because you're growing up. You're getting older.
Oh, wait.
My sister went through that as well. I mean, she will tell you straight up that the reason she believes in Christianity is not because she really believes it, it's because she's scared of death.
Mm.
And I just don't understand that.
And it's not death. I guess it's what is after. What happens when you die. You're going to die. It's going to happen in some way, shape, or form. But what happens to your soul or your spirit or whatever after death?
Yep, and that fear is actually what led to me stopping being a Christian. So I'm the opposite. She embraced it because she feels like it's something that can save her after death. I want to know the truth. I want to know the exact truth.
Well, that's always been the lie that religion uses to sell itself is, hey, we can take away that uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about dying. You will live forever. Just believe what we tell you to believe. And
you'll be on the holy gates and the gold roads. And
to me, that sounds absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that.
The prospect of living forever does not sound pleasant.
Nope.
I mean, it's not that I want to die or anything like that, but 60, 70, 80 years of existence, that's enough.
And I'm ready to call that one an end and be like, okay, I'm going to come back as Bertha from Missouri. Maybe my time's going to be Bertha the next time. I don't know. And I'm always a firm believer that if your life is good now, that maybe you were good in your previous life. And if you're rewarded, then you were good in your previous life. But if your life is hard and it's bad, then maybe it's payment for something you did before.
I know. I've been asking the universe for forgiveness because of all the crap I've been going through. I'm like, why am I going through this? Okay, what did I do to my best friends a few years ago? Let's ask for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so serious though. I really think that, oh no, I've just been a bad person, and lots of things will end up better if you ask the universe for forgiveness. Not Jesus necessarily, but if that's what you believe in, maybe it will make your life better.
I pray every day, but it's not, I'm not praying to Jesus or God or anything like that. Because it was interesting. We had a conversation at the house one day, and somebody said something about praying. And I said, well, I pray every day. And Michael was like, what? And I was like, well, I don't pray to God, but I do pray every day. I think that there's a higher being.
Also, just praying kind of in gratitude is kind of like what you guys were talking about, enjoying every moment. I love just being okay, let's take a second and look at my room. I'm so grateful for it. And that's kind of like praying.
I don't know about asking the universe for forgiveness, but I definitely think it's important to ask yourself for forgiveness and to forgive yourself. I think a lot of people fail to do that.
Very true.
And
if
they expect to be punished for something they may have done in the past, they will find a way to make that a reality, whether they mean to or not, simply by acting subconsciously.
Or manifest it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so true.
So I think self-forgiveness is an important thing, and I think a lot of people struggle with that. And that's why these people, deal with anxiety and depression.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. The millennials probably manifest their diseases, their chronic diseases. They think about it for so long, and they go to the doctor so many times that the doctor's like, there you go, you got it.
Yep.
You're in.
And my sister is a millennial, and she is such a hypochondriac, and then goes to the doctor and finds out she has whatever,
Well, it's not hard. If you want a certain diagnosis from a doctor, it's really not hard to get it.
No, you can Google the symptoms and go and say, oh, I have all of these. Do you think I have blah, blah, blah? And they'll say, yes, I think you're right.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these things don't have actual tests that can be done.
Mm-mm.
So if they want to get a diagnosis of depression or autism or a PTSD or anxiety disorder or whatever, all they have to do is go talk to a doctor and tell them, here's the symptoms I have.
Yep.
And a lot of times they don't even have to Google it because we all have some level of understanding of what depression is like.
Yeah, well, it's all over everything, over all the social media, over all the accounts.
Yep.
everybody talks about their inner demons, and so you experience it from other people, and so you know what you can say and what you need to do.
I think the best way of dealing with inner demons is to do some psychedelics and reflect on those inner demons, to go down into that labyrinth and slay them.
Yes, absolutely.
Cry for 3 hours into the ceiling.
And then it will, I've seen things that, are eye-openers whenever I've done psychedelics. I'm like, whoa, I never thought about life that way, or I never thought about what's happening in my life that way. But it's interesting that a lot of people are against that as well.
I don't know if they're against that out of ignorance or because they're afraid of them. I think it was Timothy Leary who said that psychedelics inspire fear in people who have never tried them. And that's certainly true.
They're afraid of what it might open up?
Probably.
Yeah.
But they're also just afraid of the idea of just not having control of themselves. LSD and all these other drugs, they're painted as these, oh no, you might put on a towel as a cape and try to jump out of a 7-story window or whatever.
What is the meme where the person's like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not going crazy, and they're like pooping in the middle of the street?
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be doing.
Having done a lot of psychedelics, I've never done anything like that.
No, me neither.
And I don't know anyone who has. I mean, those kinds of stories, I suppose they do happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, as Bill Hicks pointed out, the news isn't going to tell you about the story of someone who did some acid in the woods and realized that we're all one mind experiencing itself subjectively. I don't remember exactly what he said. The media is not going to talk about that, but they'll certainly tell you about the guy who took LSD and jumped out of the 7-story window.
Yeah, because he thought it was a swimming pool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie, for some reason, shrooms are not scary to me at all, but acid is still scary to me because I've never done it. And I think it is the control thing. Not that I won't think I can't control myself, but that I would be not in control of what I'm seeing. I don't know.
I can't do psychedelics at the moment. Well, I can. The terms of my release actually don't prohibit me from doing drugs. I just have no desire to and no access to them to do them. But I would encourage everyone out there who's struggling with mental health issues to maybe look into them.
Yep.
But I'm not a doctor. What do I know? I'm just a trans person who has cured depression with psychedelics. It's Free Talk Live.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agoristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agorist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agoristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in, take control of the airwaves, and talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio is Aria, Bonnie, and Angie. And I want to say thank you to James Hill, who is tonight's amplifier. He's a gold level amplifier, which means he gives $10 per month to the AMP program. Of course, we don't ask that. All we ask is $5 per month to get you in. And it gets you a number of cool little perks like an AMP-only call-in line, an AMP-only Facebook group, and some other cool things. But really, the main reason you should join it is if you like the show and you want to help us reach a larger audience, because that's what the AMP program does. It's money that is used strictly to advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live, hence its name. Check it out. You can find out more at amp.freetalklive.com. It's the best way to help Free Talk Live reach a larger audience and get on more radio stations, and to help our podcast get out there and all of that great stuff. You have my word, no more random days off. That was just, it had to happen. But let's go to the phones. We've got Tom calling from Massachusetts. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Hey, what's on your mind?
Good. Yeah, I heard you guys talking about the menthol ban that might be going on.
Yep.
And I'm in Massachusetts. We just went through it last year. I want to say in June it became official of last year.
Yeah, I recall, because suddenly I couldn't find my Newport menthol cigarettes anywhere because people came up from Mass to buy them.
Yeah, that's what I have to do, is go to New Hampshire and get some, because I smoke Camel menthols, and I have to go up to New Hampshire all the time to buy them.
Yep, and you guys don't have mango vapes down there, I heard. I was like, why specifically mango? I guess that's people's favorite.
What it was a flavor ban on all flavors. Then menthol is considered a flavor because I guess it's appealing to millennials. I don't know. That's how they got the law passed.
So if people want to vape in Massachusetts, I imagine it's illegal to sell a flavored vape, but it's not illegal for you to have one?
I don't know about vaping. I know about cigarettes. That's how it is with cigarettes. They're illegal to sell, but you can bring them from another state.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
that was nice of them to help New Hampshire get some more tax revenue, I guess. Way to go, Massachusetts.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up, and I don't know if New Hampshire goes through with it, if it's going to be a permanent thing or not.
Is it New Hampshire or is it the federal government?
I thought it was Biden. I thought it was the federal.
I thought it was as well. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Well, good luck down there in Massachusetts. I would recommend on your next trip to New Hampshire that you just stay in New Hampshire and get out of Massachusetts entirely. Connecticut also banned menthol cigarettes and flavored vapes. I don't know to what extent they did, but I don't like vaping in the first place because it just doesn't work well with my lungs and my body. But flavored, I can't imagine how bad an unflavored vape would be. It would just be like
licking an ashtray.
No, it would be like sucking down vegetable oil, which is like 50% of the contents of
a vape.
Oh God, that's awful. I knew it was something bad. Every single time I end up with a vape, I'm like, man, why am I doing this? It's so bad. But I'm like, just doing it constantly. Because I used to be addicted for like 5 years to smoking cigarettes. But anyways, I always end up getting like a sore throat, and I'm like, no, I have to stop. This is something awful. This is some kind of poison.
Well, it's better than cigarettes for sure.
Yeah.
But one of my doctors actually told me to keep smoking and not to switch to vaping. And when I asked her why, it was because, well, we don't know what the long-term effects of vaping actually are.
That is accurate.
Yep.
We do know what the long-term of smoking is, and we know that's going to kill you. But we also have all these neat little inventions here to help you along as you die. But with vaping, I don't know, you're just coating your lungs in propylene glycol and vegetable glycol. Probably not the best things you can be doing.
But if a doctor says that same thing about the brand new COVID vaccine, then they're a conspiracy theorist.
Evidently. We've also got Dan from California calling. Dan, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, ladies. I was also calling about the menthol cigarette ban. And what I'm about to tell you is real, and I'm not lying, and you can Google it when I tell you this. It's the reason why they are banning it is supposedly because Black people smoke menthol cigarettes on a more regular basis, and to look out for us, to keep us from smoking so much, they're going to ban it so Black people don't smoke cigarettes anymore.
Is that really the argument they've made?
Joe Biden did.
Hold on.
That's the argument they made.
Joe Biden stated public. I need you to turn us down. I can hear us speaking in the background there, Dan. But Joe Biden, the president of the United States, made the argument that they wanted to ban something that the Black community enjoyed.
For the good of the Black people. Yes.
And no one said, you racist idiot, you should be impeached and removed from office?
Well, someone might have said that, but no one actually is going to remove him and impeach him.
No one's going to remove him from office. And here's the thing. As a Black person, there's levels, there's scales of racism. And let me put it out here. I don't think Joe Biden is a racist. I think he's racially stupid. Like, he might actually think this is helping Black people, but I can tell you what will happen is that now, like with all other crimes, Black people will be targeted because, of course, Black people do smoke menthol cigarettes. They'll be selling them because it's not going to go away. It's just going to go to the black market. And there'll be one more thing. Now it's menthol cigarettes they can get you pulled over for, drag you out of the car for, have you on the ground for some menthol cigarettes. It's one less thing we need. One less law we need.
I absolutely agree. I mean, the police in New York have already killed a Black man over cigarettes.
Because he was selling them.
Why in the world would anyone support more laws on cigarettes, especially those that would disproportionately target Black Americans?
Aria, you've asked a great question that I do not have the answer for.
There's even some civil rights group that was like lobbying for Joe Biden to do this on behalf of Black people. It's just really crazy that nobody sees that as racist. Like, even if it is true that Black people like smoke menthols more, why would it be fine for the government to say we're going to stop Black people from doing something for their own good? That just sounds like the government thinks that Black people are too dumb to do something good for themselves.
Well, I have no doubt that it's true that Black Americans do disproportionately smoke menthol cigarettes. Having been from the South and around a lot of Black people, that's generally the case. But a lot of people smoke menthol cigarettes, myself included. But I don't think
Go ahead, Dan. You're not going to be able to own a business nationally and just live off the good graces of Black people's being your customers. You'll never survive in America because we're only 17% of the population.
Yeah.
So it's not just us who smoke menthols. But yes, predominantly, I believe it is the case that black people who do smoke menthol cigarettes. But I disagree with you again on that you think the government would not do this. They do this with the drugs you're talking about, the psychedelics you're talking about. I'm out here smoking weed right now. They think we're too stupid to know what's good for us. That's the government line. That's what they do. And it's sickening.
It is sickening. Dan, thank you so much for the amazing call tonight. It's great hearing from you. I certainly hope we don't see this, and I certainly hope we don't hear any more of that kind of nonsense from anyone that, oh, we have to do this for Black America's own good. That's disgusting. This is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
A local man feels even lazier when he thinks about how much ISIS has accomplished this year. A police officer doesn't see a difference between black and light-skinned black suspects. And a weak-willed termite eats a whole log in one sitting. Barreling forward on our campaign towards truth and righteousness, this is the Onion Week in Review. A new report released this week revealed that more parents than ever are relying on grandparents to help up their kids. The report's authors noted that in order to make ends meet, many budget-conscious parents in the U.S. have allowed their own parents to step in and deliver the same level of emotional neglect they would like to apply, adding that for many working adults, this arrangement was the only way to ensure their children were adequately belittled and ignored. In other news, Busch Gardens unveils their new 9,600-mile-long endurance coaster. A documentary provides a scathing indictment of the director's filmmaking skills, and a man brings his son into the office to see where dad is emasculated.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. And I'm just still reeling from the realization that Biden allegedly said that in order to protect Black America, they want to ban something that Black America largely enjoys. To me, that's horrifying. And it's a perfect highlight of the problems I've been talking about for the last several years, which is that, especially on the left, this whole white savior complex has gotten absolutely out of control. And that's this idea that, it's the white person's job to make sure that the stupid, silly Black people can actually exist because they're too stupid to care for themselves, which is exactly what this is. Oh, we have to ban menthol cigarettes because Black people can't figure out for themselves whether or not they want to smoke menthol cigarettes. I think it's pretty obvious that the Black community has figured out what they wanted to do. And what they want to do is smoke menthol cigarettes. I don't see any justification or rationale for coming along and saying, oh, no, you can't do that anymore because we're going to decide what is best for you. Screw what you've decided. And it's the same sort of mentality that propelled Manifest Destiny and colonization. Colonialization. What is the word I'm looking for? Colonization is correct. Mm-hmm. It's that, we have to go in. Well, the white people have to go in and educate these people, these stupid farmers in the Philippines, because they're too stupid to do it themselves. It's a horrific mentality, and it needs to be dropped. But yet it persists. We see it right now with the Biden administration alleging that we have to ban menthol cigarettes to protect Black people. How about you let Black individuals protect Black individuals and decide for themselves what is best? What a weird idea that would be.
And the government intervening in anyone's lives always ends up with them unable to, move forward in their lives in a more positive way. Like, if you can't just easily start a business when you get out of jail or something, you want to just start a business and start your life over. You can't really easily do anything like that. They only give you options that are towards, the status quo or getting worse.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the story of the homeless man in California who was homeless, and he started shining people's shoes, and eventually he had a full-blown business, and he was able to find an apartment and pay for an apartment. And either the state of California or the city he was in came down on him and said, hey, you're not licensed to shine these people's shoes. You owe us this amount of money, and by the way, you have to stop doing it. And he was back out on the streets.
And that's crazy, because you would think that, being human, that they would have said, hey, you don't have a license. You probably let's work on getting a license for you. Until you have a license, you can't go back to shining people's shoes. But since you're successful and you have a business, we're going to make sure that you don't do this anymore, and we're not going to give you a license.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with people who come over illegally too, who, work really hard and they're getting taken advantage of. In San Antonio, I've known so many people that were working overtime and not getting paid overtime and stuff like that because they were like, well, what can I do? Like, they're just going to tell the government I'm illegal and get me deported. And it's the same exact thing.
It's very frustrating how horrific human beings are toward one another. And this is only amplified by the state. This was something I don't remember who I was saying it to, but I was like, look, humans are fallible. We make mistakes. That's inevitable. But when you have an institution that exists solely on the operation of force and aggression in a given geographic area, those mistakes are deadly. Mm-hmm. It's not just someone choosing to smoke menthol cigarettes and ending their own life 15 years early. No, it results in like bombs being dropped in Afghanistan and horrific things like that.
But I would think that if they are smoking menthol cigarettes, or anyone is smoking menthol cigarettes, if it is true that it's going to lessen your lifespan or you're going to die sooner, that the government would be like, all right, go have at it. Have a good time, because you're going to save us money on healthcare. You're going to save us money on housing. You're going to save us money on food. I mean, there are so many benefits to people not growing to 90 or 100 years old who are living off of state resources.
I don't know if it would save them healthcare money for smokers to die because, cancer is relatively expensive. But, I'm also aware that when I get cancer and I start dying of lung cancer, which is almost certainly going to happen, that's my responsibility to foot the bills, not to pass it off onto the taxpayer.
Right.
So ready to take responsibility for that, I guess.
But then there are also these people who are like the epitome of health that get lung cancer and they've never smoked a cigarette in their life.
Also true.
And so they're, they aren't menthol smokers. And I forgot where I was going with it. It escaped me.
Lung cancer happens to everyone, right? Not just to
Yes, that's it.
Not just to smokers.
Yeah, it's not just isolated.
I think that it's less about helping anyone and more about just another means of getting control, like Dan was saying. Like, it's just another thing that they can use to pull people over and to put people in jail and they're going to end up getting more money doing that with menthol cigarettes.
I wonder what company benefited from this. Like what corporation said, hey, we need to ban this so that our sales go up. And they said, Biden, we're in your pocket. You need to go ahead and take care of this. And so they did it.
Well, I imagine it's the fault of the tobacco companies who have been lobbying Congress for years now to do something about vaping, to make it illegal or harder to get or whatever, because, oh no, the kids are vaping and we can't have that. Government, please do something about it. And what the government did was decide, okay, well, no flavored vapes whatsoever. And that would include, or no flavored nicotine products whatsoever, which is going to include menthol cigarettes. And the tobacco company is like, ooh, we did not mean to do that.
Yeah, but here we are. Here we are, because I'm sure they're losing a huge amount of revenue.
But as Dan started to point out, it's more insidious than just them trying to find a new justification for pulling people over. We saw this same sort of thing with the marijuana criminalization that occurred in the 1920s. It was largely Hispanics and Black Americans who consumed marijuana. And the government came along and here's the drug war, and it's disproportionately causing Black Americans to be arrested and put into prison. So this will just be one more justification for them to continue harassing, arresting, and disproportionately targeting Black Americans for victimless crimes.
Yep. And Joe Biden was the author of the drug bill. Wait, what is it? Not the drug bill. The crime bill, which has disproportionately incarcerated Black Americans.
I'm not surprised. His vice president, Kamala Harris, put plenty of Black people in prison.
I don't know what the crime bill is.
The 1999 crime bill, I think it was. I don't know exactly what it is, but it made it easier to incarcerate people, and it has been a huge thing, as big as the, almost as big as the, what is it called, the Patriot Act? And it's gotten lots of people in jail. I don't know. It's easier to incarcerate people.
But before we got into that, we were talking about health, and that's sort of how we got to talking about menthol cigarettes in the first place, because I am, in fact, a menthol cigarette smoker.
And you're a millennial.
And I'm a millennial.
Yes.
But I also don't have any chronic illnesses. And I did once struggle with depression and anxiety and all of that kind of nonsense, but I did some stuff to eliminate it from my life. Among those things was the use of psychedelics, but I also changed the circumstances of my life.
Did you ever do a guided trip? Did you ever do a guided
I did not.
psychedelic? I wondered about that.
No, just tripping and self-reflecting.
Because there was a doctor that recommended that for someone that I know. They said, hey, you should probably seek out a guided trip for medication. And they were a doctor, a holistic doctor, but nonetheless.
Well, plenty of research is coming out these days about the health benefits of psychedelics, including the possibility of psilocybin cubensis, that's magic mushrooms, to actually cure depression. Not treat it, but to cure it. And as someone who once struggled with depression, who no longer does, it's largely thanks to psilocybin cubensis. So, yeah,
I'm going to tuck that in the memory bank.
But we're talking about other ways in which millennials are unhealthy. Of course, they did cite depression. I'm sure they're pumping themselves full of all sorts of serotonin reuptake inhibitors and crap like that instead of just doing the sensible thing. Just eating some shrooms and spending some time with yourself and forgiving yourself.
Maybe eat some greens.
Yeah, and eating better in general. Yeah, it definitely helps make people healthy. Unlike these monsters I'm consuming. I'm totally not good at giving health advice because I have some extremely unhealthy habits. 603-283-6160. Let us know what you think. This is Free Talk Live.
Fact. The new NSA data center in Utah requires 1.7 million gallons of water every single day to operate. Billions of Fourth Amendment violations need massive computers and the water to cool them. That water is being supplied by the state of Utah. Fact. There's absolutely nothing in the Constitution which requires your state to help the feds violate your rights. Our message to Utah: turn it off. No water equals no NSA data center. Visit offnow.org.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And we're talking about millennials and the chronic health conditions they face, some of which are like multiple sclerosis, depression, and some others.
Etc. Yeah, high blood pressure, a whole list of them. It's an article from CNBC.com. Says, at the end of the day, if these trends continue, then you'll have higher healthcare costs. You'll be exchanging the body boomer generation for a generation with even higher healthcare costs just because of normal inflation and the fact these chronic diseases are there. To help keep her system at bay, Bennett was the one they were talking about who's had multiple sclerosis for 20 years. Bennett takes about a dozen supplements each morning, as well as other vitamins throughout the day. All told, she spends about $400 a month on more than 20 different vitamins, as well as powdered supplements she adds to drinks and smoothies.
Why hasn't she done any research? Taking vitamins is a really good way to have expensive urine.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because your body purges what it can't use.
But your body can more easily take those exact same vitamins from food and put it to use. And plus, like broccoli, like it has vitamin C, it has other things in it too that helps your body absorb the vitamin C.
Well, they're addicted to junk food in the same way that I'm addicted to cigarettes. They
Yep.
just don't realize that they're addicted to it.
Yep.
Well, it says that Bennett also sees a naturopathic doctor about once a month, a massage therapist when she can, and attends physical therapy as needed. Those services can typically range from anywhere from $75 to $150 per session. But despite all the effort, Bennett started to experience flare-ups in 2018 that have persisted through the coronavirus pandemic, including falls, double vision, and even trouble walking and standing for long periods. An avid gardener, one of her more serious falls ended with her hitting her head on a wooden stake after tripping outside of her home in Washington. Yet, Bennett's healthcare cost could be much higher. For 8 years after her diagnosis, she was on medications that, without insurance, generally cost a patient between $5,000 and $50,000 a year. When she lost her job,
Between $5,000 and $50,000 per year?
between
Jesus.
$5,000 and that's the cost for the patients without insurance.
How can any medicine be that expensive?
Didn't they say that like insulin or some kind of diabetic drug that if you don't have insurance, was like $600 a month, or even with insurance is like $600 a month?
It's so much more expensive than it's supposed to be. I've heard about that. Insulin specifically has been like pushed up in price so much by the pharmaceuticals, and they just won't give it to you if you can't afford it. Like you just
You will die. Yeah, you will die.
And because of intellectual property laws that prevent a company from saying, oh, hey, you want to charge $600 a month for insulin? Well, we're going to make the very same thing, and we're going to charge $6 a month, and we're going to make our money by having more customers than you have.
Yep.
Getting rid of intellectual property, especially in regard to pharmaceuticals, would go a long way to fix the American healthcare industry. But even then, surely there are online pharmacies where you can order insulin from China. That's how I started estrogen, was ordering it from a Chinese pharmacy.
What was the difference in cost?
It was significantly cheaper, but there were shipping issues perpetually. So it's not good if you really need like a life-saving drug, I guess. But all of those things could be worked out. And of course, I just went to the first online pharmacy I've found. I'm sure there are better ones out there. But there was always some sort of issue with it being shipped from Germany, despite being a Chinese pharmaceutical company. It was all very weird. But it worked.
I was getting ready to ask you. I mean, it worked. You didn't have any side effects that you were not expecting. And
nope.
Good.
And even now, I think it's legal for Americans to buy their drugs in Canada.
I have no idea.
I think the Obama administration lifted a ban that was on that.
I do know that I have a lot of friends that are in the medical field, and they suggest that if you want some kind of like cosmetology surgery, like breast implants or nose job or anything like that, that just go to Mexico, and that the places there are phenomenal, and it is a third of the cost, and you stay in these really nice places that have nurses on call 24 hours a day, and you're catered to.
Nice. That's what my ex-husband was always telling me about, like going to Mexico to get dental work done. He was just like, you should just go to Mexico, but I just don't have a passport. He was like, it's so much cheaper.
It is. And I was looking into implants last year, actually. And the reason I didn't pursue it was because the doctor told me that I needed a letter from a therapist authorizing it, which is supremely stupid. You don't require this letter from cis women, right? So you realize this is, by definition, discrimination against trans women, right?
Yes, that's exactly what that is.
And he didn't seem to have any issue with it. He was like, I realize this discrimination, but that's standard for the industry. I was like, okay, well, then your industry needs to fix itself, right? But even then, it was going to cost like $6,500, or go to Mexico and get it done for like $1,500.
Yep.
And enjoy a trip to Mexico in the process.
Yeah, exactly. And they want you to take somebody with you so you can take a guest, so that whenever you're done with your stay or your rehabilitation or whatever, you're getting better, that you can have somebody take you home.
Of course, it's not a possibility for me now. Can't have a passport, so can't leave the country. But, it's still on my radar. It's something that I want to do.
And it should be. Because all of this is going to be behind you soon.
I'm hoping so.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
But healthcare issues aren't really a big deal for me. I keep, like, my supervisor officer asked me, "What, do you have health insurance?" And I was like, "No." It's just like, "Why? Do you not believe in it?" Well, I don't have confidence in the health insurance system that is set up right now in the United States. No, because it's not health insurance, right? Your car insurance is car insurance, and you don't want to invoke it over something minor. But health insurance doesn't work that way in the United States. You're not supposed to need your health insurance in order to go get a routine checkup from your physician. That's like using your car insurance because you need new spark plugs or an oil change or whatever. It's just going to drive up the cost of your car insurance to constantly be trying to use it like that, even if it did cover it.
Now, have you noticed whenever you go into a doctor's office and they ask, "Oh, do you have insurance information?" You say, "I'm cash paid." They kind of look at you, like with those eyes, like, "Oh, you don't have insurance?" I'm like, "No, I'll pay you when I'm done. It's okay."
Everyone I tell that I don't have insurance to just like starts treating me like I'm poor. And I'm just like, well, I got Obamacare last year and it was going to be like $50 a month. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then there was an error and it was going to be like almost $300 a month. And I was like, I have no issues. Like, why would I pay for that? So I canceled it.
Well, it was going to be $800 when I looked into it for myself and my kids because I was of childbearing age a month.
When I had it through my employer, it was like $17 a month, and it was really good insurance, and I had no objection to it. But you want me to pay $300 a month? Dude, I don't spend that much.
Exactly. I don't go to the doctor that often.
Yeah, if I did, I would look into it. But for me, I'm weighing the cost and the risks involved just like the insurance companies would be. And for me, I'm coming up, oh, hey, I'm young and healthy. I don't actually need to spend $300 a month on health care when I go to the doctor once every 6 months.
And COVID-19 was making stuff way more expensive. Like in San Antonio, anytime I needed to go get an STD test, I would go to a van that they had. Like they had like a free van thing, and you could go to like the parking lot it was parked in and get an STD test. And then during COVID-19, that was suddenly...
that sounds shady.
I was thinking the same thing. Let's go get our test in the van.
I know, it was fun though.
Here's this black windowless van. Hey, you 19-year-old, come in here and get your STD screening.
It's not like a van. It's like, it looks like a tour bus. And they like, they have like free condoms outside and you can go inside and get an STD test. But it was free. And they quit doing that because of COVID. I was just like, wow, that makes sense. Like, let's all start spreading more STDs. I showed so many people that free van because I was just like, everyone needs to go be getting STD tested.
I think that's important because people are sleeping around a lot.
Yep.
And that could cause some problems.
And most people will end up with an STI that they don't even know they have. Something like chlamydia or whatever that has no real symptoms. But hey, yeah, you have an STI.
And you can spread it.
Yeah.
Yep. You can spread it and have absolutely no idea you had it.
It was frustrating to me when I went to Planned Parenthood recently. I told them that I wanted to do STI screening. And immediately the girl asked me, okay, do you want to have this? Are you okay with having your appointment by phone? Or do you want to come in? I was like, lady, I said I wanted STI screening. How are you going to do that over the phone?
I was getting ready to ask you what were they going to do? What the protocol?
There isn't one, so I had to go in, but they actively discouraged me the previous time from actually coming into the building to get anything done because COVID-19. I mean, we don't want you to come here. Can we just do this by phone? I was like,
I called my doctor to go. I was sick, and I called her, and she said, "Well, we're trying to keep sick people out of the office."
You're out of the doctor's office.
And I was like, are you serious? Are you really trying to? She was like, well, unless it's really bad, we're trying to keep the sick people out of the office. So this is what you should do. I was like, okay.
A lot of screening, it's not just STI screening, a lot of cancer screening and stuff like that just isn't being done right now.
Yep.
So a lot of these chronic illnesses that are beginning to affect millennials, they're going to go unnoticed simply because millennials aren't doing the checkups and the routine things that they should be doing because COVID-19, maybe somebody has cancer out there right now, but they don't know because they're not doing their routine screenings because COVID-19 has them too scared to, or has the doctors too scared to do.
Or they don't have the free van.
Or they don't have the free van. 603-283-6160. You can talk about whatever you want. This is Free Talk Live.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com. There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
An American charged. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. A criminal case building against the pilot of a boat packed with migrants that capsized over the weekend off the coast of San Diego, killing 3 people.
Investigators say many of the migrants who survived named Antonio Hurtado as the man who was driving the boat that broke apart Sunday. He's charged with alien smuggling. Some of the 33 people who were rescued said they paid between $15,000 and $18,000 to be on the boat. The Fox San Diego affiliate reports some of those on board were children traveling alone, and all but one of the passengers was Mexican. Hurtado is also accused of assaulting a Border Patrol agent, kneeing him in the face as he was arrested. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
The State House in South Carolina has voted to add firing squad to the state's methods of execution due to a lack of lethal injection drugs. The bill would require inmates to choose either to be shot or electrocuted if the lethal injection drugs are not available. The Senate approved the bill in March. South Carolina would be only the 4th state to allow the use of firing squad. It last executed an inmate about 10 years ago. Authorities in Colorado have arrested the husband of a woman who has been missing for nearly a year. Barry Morphew is charged with murder and other offenses in the death of Suzanne Morphew, who went missing after reportedly going out for a bike ride.
Today is not the day for celebration, nor does it mark the end of this investigation. Rather, it's the next step in this very difficult yet very important journey as we seek justice for Suzanne and her family.
Chaffee County Sheriff John Spizzi, Suzanne Morphew's body has not been found. 2 Americans have been sentenced to life in prison in Italy after being convicted of the murder of a police officer in 2019. The jury deliberated for more than 12 hours before handing down the country's stiffest penalty. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The cases of COVID-19 in one Asian country continue to explode.
India accounted for nearly half of the COVID-19 cases reported worldwide last week, the World Health Organization said today. The country's coronavirus deaths soared to a record 3,780 during the last 24 hours. Daily infections in the country rose by over 382,000. India's second deadly surge of COVID-19 has seen hospitals run out of beds and oxygen and left morgues and crematoriums overflowing. Prime Minister Modi's government has been widely criticized for not acting sooner to suppress the second wave of the virus.
Fox's Greg Palcott. The Small Business Administration says the Paycheck Protection Program, which provided relief for small businesses during the pandemic, has run out of money. As of Sunday, the program has doled out nearly 10.8 million borrowers, more than $700 billion in forgivable loans since April of last year. The program was set to expire at the end of the month. One major Las Vegas casino says it's starting to see more business.
Caesars says its weekends in Las Vegas are sold out for the foreseeable future. Though the casino company continued to lose money in the first quarter, business improved significantly over the end of last year as the pace of vaccinations across the country accelerated and consumers started to resume their more normal behavior. Total occupancy in the first quarter was 52%. It was 84% in April, and Caesars sees that improving in May and June.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
I got my first Barbie when I was 37 years old. And even when I was younger, I knew I didn't need to look like her to feel good about myself. And just because Barbie has a size 0 waist and wears dark makeup, does that mean that's the only way to be beautiful? I mean, what kind of message does that send to men like me? I always remember that this is just a silly toy, and it shouldn't change the way I look at myself. And if anyone has a problem with me being myself, well, then they're probably not really my friends. I also don't just play with Barbies. I play with Legos and Mega Blocks, because while I definitely like Barbies, I like building things too, and I'm actually really, really good at it. My name is Tim Mortensen. I'm 43 years old, and I know that I don't need to be defined by Barbie. I can be whoever I want to be.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. People in the D-Live chat are talking about Free Talk Live merchandise like hoodies and stuff like that. And of course, those are available. I have no idea, though, who is responsible for that. It's probably something I should be looking into now that it's occurred to me. So I would recommend at this exact moment to not shop on the Free Talk Live store until I figure out who's actually responsible for that. Because if it was Ian, then I'm now responsible for that.
That's
and I'm
a very
not
good point.
Currently doing it. So adding that to the list of things to look into, that's probably a more urgent concern. I don't know how often the shop is actually used.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Are they asking because I have this jacket? Because I just took it from Ian.
I was just going to ask you if you knew how often things were shipped or how they were shipped.
No, I have no idea.
I don't know who affiliated with the show would possibly be responsible for that. Ian's much too busy to be shipping off merchandise and stuff.
Yes, that's what I would think.
I've never seen him
Is
do
it
that.
here?
I've never seen merchandise here either.
There is some merchandise here, but it's not like a central warehouse for shipping or anything like that. But somebody's definitely handling it.
I wonder if it goes just straight to the company who manufactures it, and then they just send it out as it gets ordered.
I don't know. I should probably get a Free Talk Live hoodie, though.
Maybe I'll order one and we'll be like, oh, I don't know what happened to it. Well, me neither.
That's not a bad way to see what's going on.
I'll order one when I get home.
Just order one and see what happens. Maybe I'll receive an email. Maybe I won't. Who knows?
Yeah.
But we're talking about millennials here and health concerns that they have, because apparently older millennials are coming down with chronic health conditions, and it's costing them a lot of money because the American health system is completely, totally FUBAR. Can't tell you what that means if you don't know what that means, but it's screwed up.
It says that declining health is only one piece of the puzzle. While older millennials are experiencing higher rates of chronic health conditions, it may not be strictly due to declining health. The implementation of the Affordable Care Act in 2010, also known as Obamacare, increased access to healthcare providers for many Americans.
But it didn't. It was just a boon to insurance companies. As we were talking about earlier, health insurance, just like car insurance and any other life insurance, whatever insurance you want, it's a matter of calculating risk versus reward.
Yes.
But if only sick people are getting health insurance, then they're not making any money. Just like if only bad drivers were getting car insurance companies wouldn't make any money. They have to have good drivers who aren't getting into accidents.
But they're
with
the
healthcare,
media.
with healthcare, there's no reason for a young, healthy person to get healthcare. So we chose not to. So in came the, quote, Affordable Care Act that said, hey, yeah, I know you don't need it, and you're probably correct in that assessment. But guess what? You have to get it anyway, because otherwise the health insurance companies, they just can't sustain themselves because it turns out it's not profitable.
And then they fined you if you didn't have it. Like you had to pay a fine.
Yes. It gets taken out of your tax, and it made me so mad. Like I had no idea that was going to happen. I answered truthfully on my taxes one year, like 2017, like I didn't have health insurance these 6 months. Oh, here's $200 off of your
refund.
Your refund. I was like, wow, that's
thank you very
crazy.
much.
And
Thanks,
it was all to subsidize health insurance companies who are running an unsustainable business model.
It was for my own good. If they took my money.
If health insurance companies want the business of young, healthy people, then they should charge us significantly less. Look, you want to offer me health insurance for $20, $30 a month? Sure, I'll do that. But you start talking this $300 a month nonsense, you want me to subsidize the lifestyles of people who eat McDonald's every day? I'm not going to do it. And that's all that $300 a month is actually doing, is subsidizing the inherently risky lifestyles of others. No, thank you. I'm good.
I think that's a very good point. Back to the article, it says this was especially important for younger Americans who were given the option to stay on their parents' health insurance plans until they were 26. This helped more college students and recent grads afford to seek out medical care when they needed it. It is true that we have improved access to care, Benjamin says. But when you improve access to care, then you see more people and you identify more health problems.
But they didn't give us more access.
No, they just made us have insurance.
They just made it more expensive, yes. Previously, I could have just gone to a doctor if I was sick and paid them $100 or $150 or whatever.
Their office visit, yes.
Yeah.
And then you'd had to go to, now, did you know that CVS, I think it is, they have like this program that if you come in there at a certain day, that your prescription, if you don't have insurance, is reduced.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and I only know that because I went in there one day and they were like, oh, it's like $300 and some dollars. And I was like, oh, and I didn't have enough cash on me. And I was like, okay, I'll be back. So I went back the next day and they were like, it's $38.
Oh my God.
And I was like, it was $300 yesterday. She said, no, but today we can do this. And it was like some kind of coupon that they scanned. And I was like, oh, thank you very much.
It's very strange. I don't have insurance, so I pay for my hormones out of pocket. But it's very strange that by default, they're like 3 to 4 times the amount that I pay for them. But they go on this website called goodrx.com or something like that.
Yes,
and they search it and they enter some code and it somehow magically makes it cheaper. Why isn't it just cheaper?
Exactly. Why do they have to have that special code?
Yeah, I don't understand any of this. It's nonsense. Who is subsidizing this then?
That's what I was going to ask. Who pays the difference?
Yeah, someone has to be, right? Yep. Otherwise, CVS would just charge me what they charge me.
Exactly.
It's so bizarre, and I don't understand the need for any of it, but it's overly complicated, and that's part of the reason that it's so freaking expensive.
While that does potentially increase disease rates, it can be a good thing, Benjamin says. Identifying health problems early leads to better long-term outcomes, including longer lifespans. For Brady Dixon, doctors were able to catch his type 2 diabetes early when he was 29. Doctors diagnosed Dixon, now 35, with diabetes after a routine health exam for work uncovered critically high blood sugars in 2015. Although doctors were able to catch his condition before any real complications arose, diabetes is one of the most expensive chronic diseases to treat in the U.S. today.
It's also one of the easiest to prevent.
Yes.
Just eat right.
Don't put things in your mouth that you shouldn't eat. Don't drink things that you shouldn't drink. Sugar is in everything. A loaf of bread, a loaf of white bread is just a loaf of sugar. And when you put it in your mouth, it just dissolves like sugar.
Yeah. Of course, I consume a lot of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of sugar in these monsters.
How many grams of sugar does that monster have?
It would take me a second to look through it to see it. It doesn't say right off the bat.
Well, this says that those diagnosed with diabetes have an average of
32 grams.
32 grams of sugar in one can. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount. I mean, that's, wow.
And I drink like 3 of these a day. So I should probably cut back on those.
Maybe just look, do they have sugar-free? But then they're going to have something else in them.
They do have sugar-free, but yeah.
They're going to have something, yeah.
Aspartame or something.
Exactly. So then you're better just to have the sugar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I should still cut back, though.
That would probably be a good idea.
It would help more if I just increase the amount of sleep I get.
I was getting ready to say, if you cut back, you can probably get more sleep.
Well,
aren't they energy
I don't
drinks?
have the time for more sleep.
So
which is
you need
why
those.
I drink the monsters, to have energy to supplement the sleep that I didn't get.
Do you drink coffee as well?
I do not drink coffee.
Okay, that's good.
You might be getting better sleep if you at least cut down on the monsters, though, because they can like mess with your brain's ability to fall asleep and like stay asleep.
I have no
That's what
issue
I've heard.
falling asleep or staying asleep once I decide to go to sleep. The issue is that's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then it's Wednesday and I have to wake up at 8 o'clock so I can be at work, and then come here and do the show, and then go home and do some more work for Free Talk Live. And then it's 4 in the morning and I got to wake up and go to work the next day. So the issue is really just lack of time.
Yeah. Well, there's only 24 hours in a day. We can't make it any longer.
And that pisses me off.
The length of time doesn't bother me. What bothers me is just having to sleep. If I could just take some magic pill that made me feel fully rested and not have to sleep, that would be ideal.
We could do a test, Aria, and see how many monsters you can consume and how long you could actually stay awake and how long you could function properly, not just function, like get things done and be productive.
That sounds fun.
I know, right? I'll do it with you. I don't want to be the one. I'll get sleep. I have kids. I have to sleep.
Sure.
But I'll be the one monitoring you. I'll be like, Aria, you still awake? What are you doing?
We're going to have to babysit Aria because she'll go
We can
crazy.
have an Aria cam.
Well, you can definitely go crazy from lack of sleep, for sure. But I imagine I would collapse and fall asleep before that point. The reason Ian couldn't sleep was because there were foreign substances in his body that were preventing him from falling asleep.
Do we have a phone call?
We do, but we're out to break in a minute.
Okay.
And I'd forgotten about it.
So I'm going to go on with the article. It says those diagnosed with diabetes have an average of $16,750 in annual medical expenditures, $9,600 of which is attributed directly to diabetes. For Oklahoma-based Dixon, the major costs have been his medication and food. After the first drug prescribed to Dixon left him sick for hours, he switched to another that he tolerated better. A month's supply of the drug, Trulicity, cost an average of $985 a month without insurance.
Jesus. I wonder how much that costs with the GoodRx code.
It says according to GoodRx, you can get it for $48.
Oh my God.
Okay, so he's just not using the GoodRx
Yep,
coupon then?
it doesn't say that he did.
It's so strange. I don't understand what GoodRx is. Do you know?
You don't even
Give
need
us
an
a call,
account.
603-283-6160.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can join the discussion. We've got Dave from New Hampshire on the line. Sorry for putting you on hold for that length of time, Dave. What's on your mind tonight?
It's not a war crime.
It is definitely not, but it was inconsiderate of me, and I apologize.
That's right.
What's on your mind tonight?
Well, some good news out of New Hampshire. You know how one of the reasons the Free State Project picked New Hampshire is the best place for libertarians to migrate to. It was not just that it was near the top, it was near or at the top, when it came to freedom, but because it's near or at the top in almost everything else, right? It seems like it's always number 2 or number 3 in every ranking of what would be good in the state, right?
Yes.
So the latest, many hundreds of such reports over the years, it comes from Realtor.com, which has us rated as the number 2 best real estate market in the country.
I believe it. Some of the real estate that I looked at when I was in, I don't remember where I was, some part of New Hampshire, but houses were like $17,000, $25,000. And stuff that goes on the market here in Keene, it's pretty much immediately bought up. I mean, the house next to the studio here was for sale for a total of maybe 2 weeks before someone bought it.
Wait, so is it being $17,000 or $25,000 for a house good because it's cheaper?
I don't know. I mean, it may have been a rundown piece of crap. I don't know. I didn't look into it. I was just shocked by the low cost of being able to buy any house.
So low cost equals like a good market. Okay. That's cool.
Well, I don't know. I would think high cost would actually equal a good market. And that is actually one of the problems in New Hampshire is the cost of living is relatively high. And so houses sell for more here. But I think what's happening is just people are just fleeing the places in America that are becoming unsafe, and they want to come to a safe place. So we've got all kinds of people kind of flooding into the state now.
Well, people are definitely leaving larger cities and stuff like that and moving to more rural states like New Hampshire because of the government's responses to COVID-19. So that's at least happening. And I can't say I blame these people, but I want to remind them not to bring their disastrous policies with them.
Right. It's no coincidence that we rise to the top on freedom rankings, but we rise to the top on all the other good rankings too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of the others, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, New Hampshire isn't perfect, but it is a great place, and I, for one, love it here. And I want more libertarians to come here, but I want more people in general to come here, preferably those who lean toward the ideas of liberty and not those, who want to put us in muzzles and all of that nonsense and lock down businesses and tell private businesses what they can and can't do. And that's the reason that a lot of people are coming to New Hampshire, is that it is freer than places like Massachusetts. You can at least buy menthol cigarettes here in New Hampshire.
For now.
For now.
Yeah, Vincent was complaining about New Hampshire recently, but he's like from here. And I was telling him, like, look, I just came from San Antonio, where the last time I went to my favorite gay bar in San Antonio, they forced us to sit at tables, no karaoke, and there were police patrolling each room. Like, there was a police officer walking back and forth in each room. That's just like, that doesn't happen here.
How does that help? More people in the room, how does that help reduce the spread of COVID?
It just was a police state. It was very scary and not a fun time. My favorite place ever until COVID.
Well, it's never good to have police patrolling an area. I mean, we don't need firefighters patrolling. Why in the world do we need police patrolling?
Nope.
We don't need paramedics out there patrolling for someone who needs CPR.
But it would be better if it was a paramedic than a police officer.
I would agree.
Yeah, they might be able to save someone's life instead of taking someone's life.
They'd probably spend a lot of money walking around before a disaster happened, just like police are wasting a lot of money.
Now, for me, I'm from Mississippi, and from what I've heard there, everything from my sister is that Mississippi actually, for the most part, stayed freer in regard to COVID-19 than New Hampshire did. And I mean, that's unfortunate, but nowhere's perfect, and Mississippi has significant other drawbacks, like, a crappy economy and a very high rate of people having syphilis and gonorrhea and teen pregnancy and all of that nonsense. New Hampshire doesn't really have those issues. So check out New Hampshire. Check out the Free State Project. It's this goal of getting liberty-minded people to move to New Hampshire. Dave, I put you on hold, but I actually want to bring you back because your Salt March is coming up. And I want to remind people about that.
Should I switch back into character?
Absolutely. If you would like.
I have normally a rule against doing that, but since you requested it, I will pretend like I am Mr. Gandhi again, and I can tell you what has been going on. If you wish to know, what questions do you have, and more importantly, what requests do you have for what kinds of things should be done on this civil disobedience march across New Hampshire?
I would like clarification on exactly when and what time.
Leaving.
Yes.
May 9th, 3 p.m. All the details are at bitcoingandhi.net.
Okay.
And there will be updates posted there as well. But beginning near the Mighty Moose Mart, which was raided by the FBI so recently and inappropriately, we will rally there briefly. I have a very brief speech to give, and then it is intended to be off marching.
Well, I look forward to it. I will definitely be there on May the 9th to see you off. I mean, you'll be right next door to me, so obviously I will be there. Just pop out and say hello and wish you well on your journey.
Now, are you planning to walk for 24 days?
That is the plan.
Okay.
I have left some wiggle room for illness. I do not wish to continue marching and creating a situation where I am getting sicker and sicker and marching just because I said I would. So I didn't say I would if I became ill. But there have been some minor developments. I have received pledges of over $1,500 for advertising, which will be funded directly by the donors who will pay the newspapers and the I'm sorry, I was supposed to be answering questions.
Where do you plan on sleeping during the march?
The Mahatma slept, and I should do as best I can as the Mahatma did. He slept outdoors every night during his 24-day march. So I will do the same. As best I can, I do not intend to sleep indoors.
Wow, that's like much respect. I, for some reason, thought that Gandhi had been taken in by like nice people on his walk, so that's why I was like, I hope he doesn't expect to get taken in by 21st century Americans. But wow.
Well, here in New Hampshire, he may very well be.
Hmm.
Like if it starts raining or something like that, and a neighbor happens to see him, pitching a tent, it's not impossible that someone will be like, "Hey, why don't you crash on the couch?"
Or at least come in the garage or the carport.
Yeah. People tend to be better than we want to give them credit for. If someone offered you a place to stay, would you take them up on it?
One must do as the Mahatma did if one wishes to reenact the Mahatma's endeavors, and the important thing will be the act of civil disobedience at the federal courthouse, attempting to deliver my grievances about their raid on you in a piece of paper which is considered illegal for you to hand to federal officials on federal property.
Dave, I'm looking forward to this. I hope it turns out well. I hope you don't get a lot of rain during this journey, too. I don't think it rains a whole lot in New Hampshire, though. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Are you about to meet the media? If you're about to be interviewed, do their homework for them. Know this about the person who will interview you. He or she is busy, so expect minimal, if any, preparation. He or she doesn't know as much about your topic as you do. He or she isn't as concerned as you are about getting your message out, so you need to take responsibility. Provide a biography and fact sheet, photographs, or other materials that tell your story. Reporters won't be put off if you supply frequently asked questions. Remember, Public Speaking 101, at the end of the speech, what's the one thing you want them to remember? You can download the document I supply to reporters who interview me and squirm through a video that demonstrates how not to conduct your media interview at www.survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live.
No, I just want to reiterate on what you said, and I feel you what you said about the junkie. I mean, I'm with you 100% because I had an ex-girlfriend that was like out there, and it took me a while to even find out that she was a cocaine addict. And I'm talking about I come home to all the electronics gone, and nobody broke in the house. A key was used. What happened was I was trying to be a gentleman, a good boyfriend. I got out of work. She said my car needed cleaning. It was dirty, and I ended up going in her trunk, cleaning out her trunk because that's where I kept the tie shine at. It's the exact same receipt from the pawn shop that the stuff that was missing, item for item.
Busted.
They had been to the pawn shop.
What happened when you confronted her?
She packed her stuff and said she's leaving because I don't trust her. So she gonna say she needs to leave.
Right, it's your fault.
Yeah, it's my
You're the
fault.
bad
It's
guy.
my fault I found the receipts in the trunk. Right.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in, take control of the airwaves, and talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria,
Angie,
and Bonnie.
And everywhere you turn, everything you do, the government wants some of your money. The number of times that taxes are paid on your money or your property is absolutely appalling. I was discussing this with a colleague years ago about how, if he died and left his kids money, it would be taxed, I think something like 7 different times before they ever got any of it. And then they would spend it and there would be sales taxes and they'd have to claim it as income taxes. And it's just absolutely absurd how overly taxed we are. And most Americans aren't paying any attention to it because they get that stupid W-2 and they get that money back from the government. That's what I hate. My sister does this. She's going to get like a $10,000 tax return this year. And she's like, yeah, I'm getting this money back, but you're not getting it back. You're just getting it.
Right.
And I'm fine with that. Sure, it'll collapse the system faster, but let's not pretend like you paid in 10 grand here. You didn't. You paid in like maybe $500 and the rest is just you being given it.
Yeah, it's money that they're creating out of air, and it's going to deflate the system. It's going to go down faster.
And I heard something so funny about that recently that I never considered. So the thing about Dogecoin is that it's so ridiculous compared to BTC, Bitcoin, because there's such a huge amount of it in circulation that that's the whole joke. Like, it's such a ridiculous amount of like Dogecoins that can be mined, but it's still conservative compared to the US dollar. And I never thought about that. It's like there's way less Dogecoin in circulation and never will be more than there are US dollars. So I don't know. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
I don't know how much Doge is in circulation or how much USD is in circulation. I do know that 20% of the total US money supply was created out of thin air in the last year, which for those who aren't knowledgeable means inflation rates of 20% last year. I don't know what people think that's going to do to the prices of groceries and gasoline and obviously Bitcoin and alternative currencies that aren't being inflated, but it's not going to do us any favors. And now they're talking about making a permanent stimulus check paid each month to Americans.
I saw that.
I wouldn't object to it if I was able to use that money to buy cryptocurrency, but I can't at the moment. That was the worst thing about all of this. I'd been looking forward to this $1,400 stimulus check. I was like, all right, more Bitcoin. Oh, I can't use it to buy Bitcoin. I could use it to buy gold, though. So there is still that.
Good. So you can still put some value to it.
Yeah. Because the USD itself is only becoming less valuable.
Yep.
But evidently, no matter how much they're taxing us, it just isn't. They remind me of gods, the Christian gods, all powerful creator of the universe, but always needs more money. So does the government.
A lot of money in the church and business.
Yep.
This from Business Insider. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says a shocking $7 trillion in taxes is going uncollected.
Well, what do they care? They're not. The U.S. government isn't funded by taxes in the first place.
Nope.
They're funded by inflation.
It's another thing that's just about control. It says, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said a shocking amount of taxes was going uncollected by the federal government and urged additional action to fetch this money from the wealthiest Americans. She says, it's really shocking and distressing to see estimates suggesting that the gap between what we're collecting in taxes on current tax and what we should be collecting if everybody were paying for taxes that are due says that that amounts to over $7 trillion over a decade. Yellen said in an interview with The Atlantic published on Tuesday. She added, "We're trying to make meaningful steps to close that gap."
Well, if you tax the wealthy, then you liquidate the wealthy. You just transfer that money to the government, who has been proven to be financially irresponsible. I'm not a big fan of Bill Gates, but I got to say he's better with money than the U.S. government. The same is true of Elon Musk.
Yellen's remarks emphasized the Biden administration's efforts to collect tax revenue from the wealthiest Americans and multinational companies to finance $4 trillion in spending programs to overhaul the economy. President Joe Biden is also increasingly saying he does not want his plan to swell the federal deficit. Well, how wouldn't it?
I don't know why they even pretend to care about the federal deficit.
It's so big, there's no way we're ever going to get rid of it.
Yeah, the national debt is like, what, 22 trillion right now? You can go to debtclock.com.
Do you have any idea what each of us are on the hook for, supposedly? Like what we're supposed to owe per person?
The last time I calculated it, believe it or not, it was $66,666.66.
Oh, see, I thought
no,
it was a
it
lot
wasn't.
more.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was the last time I calculated it.
I'm kind of happy that the number is so low. I mean, I'm not happy
I don't
about
care.
it,
I
but
don't
like,
know
That's every single American.
but right, but
like even the
when
2-year-old
you're born,
up the street.
you're like,
yeah.
here's your $66,000 bill.
Yeah.
Can you pay it now?
And of course, I lived in Mississippi then, so that would have been at least 3 years ago that I did this.
So
and the
it's
debt
much
has
more.
increased significantly since then.
Well, they're trying to get even more money from you. It says, at the center of Biden's planned revenue raisers is a provision to increase funding for the IRS enforcement.
Okay. So they want to tax people more so that they can pay for the enforcement of more tax laws?
The militarization of the IRS, I guess. He also wants to slap investors earning above $1 million with a hike in capital gains tax and raise the top marginal income tax rate from 39.6% to 37%.
I don't know what those words mean.
Yeah.
They want to tax rich people is what I got out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't particularly care if they want to tax rich people. I mean, they can try, but the kind of people they're talking about also have, attorneys.
That's what I was going to say. They have ways to get out of paying those taxes.
Yeah, and they're very good at it.
Yep, that's what they pay their attorneys for. That's their job, and their accountants.
I don't see any way. I mean, you can tell them what they owe all they want, but they're going to have an attorney say, "Oh no, they don't actually owe that amount because that money is X, Y, or Z or whatever."
And it was given to them as a loan or a gift or a grant.
I mean, the best thing the government can do here would be to encourage companies to come to the United States, to operate here, to lower their taxes so that the companies themselves can boost the economy by hiring people, by buying stuff.
They're not interested in boosting the economy, I don't think.
No, they're certainly not.
They're going to try to. They're trying to break it.
What was the term they used? They wanted to restructure the economy. Yeah, I don't know about you,
demolition.
but that sounds kind of alarming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the Biden administration restructuring the economy. Not when they're talking about monthly stimulus checks to every American.
That is a straight up restructuring. The IRS's official estimate is that there's a tax gap of $441 billion a year. But Charles Rettig, the agency's commissioner, recently told Congress that the number could be over $1 trillion. A recent study from IRS researchers and academics found that the top 1% of Americans failed to report about 1/4 of their income to the IRS. If you're a top 1% earner in America and you didn't report 1/4 of your income, that's a lot of money.
I don't understand why anyone who was that wealthy would still be in the United States.
That's a very good question.
It's not a great place to be if you're super rich. It's not a great place to be in general, but especially not if you're super rich. They just want to tax the hell out of you. Of course, the European Union does as well, but there are places you could go that you wouldn't be subjected to U.S. tax law or European tax law.
The research found income underreporting was nearly twice as high for the top 0.1%, which could account for billions in uncollected taxes. I had always heard that they stopped going after rich people because it was too hard, so that's why they've been auditing more like middle-class people, like my sister, who was an Uber Eats driver last year, got audited.
Really?
Yeah.
What a waste of their time.
I think it's like more worth their time to go after a whole bunch of middle class people who can't defend themselves than go after rich people.
Yeah. It may be, but it's horrifically immoral to
Yep.
go after the people who you know can't defend yourself against it.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? 603-283-6160, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Thanks for listening to this Wednesday night edition of She Talk Live, as it were. going to continue next week, of course. It's fun, and people seem to be enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying it. Hopefully, we won't have any more missed days, but I mean,
You're human.
Yeah, but didn't know that was really an issue, but evidently it is. So it is what it is. Let's go to the phones, though. We've got David calling from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, yeah, I want to talk about guns. My cottontail bunny rabbit friend just showed up for dinner. He comes every night right at this time.
You have a rabbit friend?
Well, more than one, but two of them in particular. Every night at this time, right when I'm talking to you guys, they come up on the porch and they want nachos. So I give them some nachos.
Oh my gosh, that's the most New Mexico story I've ever heard. It was really cute.
You feed them
Cinco de Mayo.
You feed them nachos?
Pardon?
Oh, it is Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. It's corn. They like the corn chips.
Okay.
They like other things too, but that's their favorite.
That's cool because rabbits are so skittish.
And they're fast.
Yeah.
So what
and I got little Mexican ground squirrels that do the same thing. Only they come all the way in the house, and if you don't feed them, they'll crawl up your back.
Oh wow.
I have some groundhogs that live under my shed,
Oh my
but they
God.
won't come to me. They just sort of
They're
hang out.
cute.
They are really, really cute. There's a whole family of them, or at least there was. I don't know.
I can't wait to start
now.
seeing the chipmunks again. Chipmunks up here, adorable.
If you start putting food out for the groundhogs, they'll probably start coming out for you.
I don't care that much. I
Plus,
mean,
that could be bad.
yeah, they're okay. They're just chilling over there. They're not hurting me. I'm not hurting them. We're just peacefully coexisting.
Yep.
So anyway, Cinco de Mayo reminds me of guns. And because Cinco de Mayo, they had that's all about the Battle of Puebla between the Mexicans and the French. And the Mexicans had some guns, and so they were able to defeat the French that were trying to take their land. And that reminded me that American gun sales are at 1.5 to 2 million new guns every month for the last year, basically.
Nice.
And so we're
Go
we're
America.
at that's it's pretty good to hear that the envy of the rest of the country. And the point is that Obama was a good gun salesman, and Biden is turning out to be even better. If you're talking about 24 million new guns every year on top of the 300, 400 million that are already here, there's no way that they can do to us what they want to do to us, which is what they've already done to countries in Europe and Australia and China and everywhere else around the world. We're basically the last one of any size that has so many guns that they can't possibly do to us what they've done elsewhere.
David, that's a terrifying thought, and I've never really thought about it. You are absolutely correct. The United States is pretty much the last major large country in the world where you can just have a gun.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If the United States, if they succeed in taking guns from us here, they will have the whole world. There will be nothing stopping them because the U.S., the private citizen, the armed private citizen, is the only thing preventing the entire world from being taken over by these SOBs.
Well, they have largely already taken over the United States. I mean, the only thing is... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying, but not to the point where they can bend you over and put a bullet in the back of their head because they feel like it, like they have done elsewhere.
That's true. David, thank you so much for the call. That's something I'm going to have to give some thought to later because, I mean, China, obviously, major country, no gun ownership. I think the same is true of India as well. Most of Europe, Canada, certainly. Mexico, I don't know the status of. But Russia, I don't know. I don't know
either.
about the status of Russia. I can't imagine the average Russian citizen is just allowed to keep and bear arms. So, scary thoughts. Let's keep going. We've got William calling. William, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
I haven't called in quite a while.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't catch any of that.
Okay, this better?
Yeah.
All righty. Haven't called in a while. First of all, thank you for taking up where things happen and you're handling things for the show with everything going on.
Thanks,
I
I
wish
try.
Bonnie and Ian well, taking care of what's going on. I grew up with Ian, So I hope everything works out. I'd like to talk a little bit about taxes, but I will comment on gun thing. I think it's interesting that there are smaller countries where the government embraced the fact that guns protect. Like, I think
You're breaking up a lot, and your volume has like plummeted. Are you still with us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What were you saying?
I'm sorry, I don't know where you dropped off, but
I mean, we pretty much got none of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm a friend of Ian from the South. Knew him when he was growing up.
Sure.
Either way, I wanted to comment on taxes, but I will mention the gun situation. I think it's interesting that there are countries like, I believe, Norway, where they embrace that having guns is a good thing for the citizens of their country, and they pretty much teach you when you're becoming an adult, and they give
it's
everybody
Switzerland.
a gun. And they're Switzerland, okay. And I think that's a different take on it, because the government here, what they may or may not realize is there's no stopping the gun situation as it is. There's millions of guns in existence, and nobody's going to give up their guns.
Well,
So
they say they're
can't
not
make
going to
it
give up their
stop.
guns, but the American government hasn't had a very hard time getting Americans to agree to concessions on gun ownership. I mean, we're already at a point where we can't have automatic weapons or anything that would be useful to defend ourselves against the government. If things came to that, we're not allowed to have. So they've already disarmed us in any meaningful capacity. I mean, you're just not going to do much damage to an Abram tank with a 12-gauge shotgun or a 30-06 or a 9mm or a 38 Special or whatever.
Right. We can't have rocket launchers sitting in a gun closet in our house. So
We should
yes,
be able to.
You're right. I mean, that would be awesome. Don't get me wrong. I'd probably buy one myself, but you're right. The guns that we can possess are not going to do much of anything, but they're still not going to go away. A tank can come and go over somebody's house, but you're still, with the amount of small arms that are out there, you're not going to make it disappear. And the criminals are the ones that are always having.
Sure, but the government has no need to make them disappear if they're useless against the government. They're inconsequential at that point.
Right. The whole situation, the whole thing for them, it's about a false sense of security by saying, oh, we're going to take away all the guns and there'll be no more evil school shootings or whatever else they say. But that doesn't make it actually reality. Reality is people are going to do bad things, whether they have a gun, a machete, or any weapon. There's unhealthy people are going to make a mess of something, right? They're going to do crazy.
I mean, we've already seen this. There was a kid at some college campus a few years ago who just took his car and drove into random people on the campus and ultimately got out with a knife or something like that.
I remember that.
He didn't have a gun, but he still found a way to turn his vehicle into a weapon. Are we going to ban vehicles next?
No, not at all. It's all a show, really. It's their way of pretending they care about us, and they don't really. They care about money. It's all about money. So you have to look at what they're doing and figure out how they're profiting from it.
Yep.
Okay. So taking away your weapons, how do they profit from it?
Money and control.
And control is 100% it, because now the police officer who pulls you over, even if it's because of some made-up reason, it doesn't matter. They overpower you 99.999% of the time.
William, we're losing you again, but the show's coming to an end shortly anyway. I mean, a police officer doesn't really have to overpower you because they'll just shoot you if you don't comply.
Mm-hmm.
And they've demonstrated that time and time again. I don't think being armed in a situation where a police officer is pointing a gun at you is going to help the situation at all. That's not to say you shouldn't be armed, but I don't think it's going to help.
Well, don't they say that if you have a gun pointed at you at close proximity, that the best thing is try to disarm the other person versus grabbing your gun?
Probably.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like the safest rule you're supposed to do.
reaching for your own gun probably wouldn't be a good idea, especially if that other person was a cop. You don't want to get into an armed shootout out in the middle of the streets, man. It's just not worth it. We have to change the culture that allows them to do that sort of thing. You're not going to win that fight with the gun. Thanks for listening. This has been Free Talk Live.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Salvaging